It's only ever when I'm rushing that I'm like, oh, hey, I should probably, oh, didn't send my message. There we go. You know we're live, right? Like, you did it.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Maybe.
All right.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go with you don't know then. Alrighty.
I mean, there's a lot of things I do or don't know.
Right. Alright, hang on. Is Code the Yoshi thingy? Yep.
I plead the fifth.
You plead the fifth. Oh, hi there. Alrighty. Cool. So Thingamadiggy is working. You're streaming right now. Alright, where's my there's my Twitch. Alright, advertising will start shortly. And yeah, cool. So I've turned off like the gifts of Thingamadiggy. Where's my Baldur's Gate 3? There's my Baldur's Gate 3. So yeah. So one of the things I did, like, because I now keep a keyboard, like I keep one of the shitty keyboards I can plug in via USB right next to me now for when I want to do Blender stuff, because I'm so used to having a numpad for all my Blender stuff. One of the so yeah, I've now made like a little flood ruler thing. So, because I was wondering, it's like, how do I do my macro march thing? Like, and you know, have people keep a sort of an idea of object permeant scale and what have you, because I don't think I'm gonna get any bigger than, like, you know, what it was in the first stream, which was like basically twice my height, until I do other things like having gift subs or anything like that associated with it. But I thought, since the scale, like, to my zebra when live is only applied to the growth in that stream, I would do renders based on, like, oh, this is how Grant grew this week or something like that. So it's like you'd have your standard Grant, and then you'd have like the bigger Grant right beside him. So I have like a 10-meter long ruler or something like that, and it took me so long to get that like 10-meter ruler like looking like it was like an evenly distributed number of like segments to it and such.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't even put numbers on it. So you're just gonna have to like sort of basically like so that you have to like almost count the ruler, like if I don't do any like photoshopping afterwards of being like, oh, Grant currently, or and then Grant week 1 or something. I haven't even thought any further of like, oh, what about posing, or what happens to his clothes when he gets bigger and such. I haven't thought about that one either.
What clothes? They're all gone.
Yep. And then it's like, depending on how big he gets, it's like, because right now I just have him in like this white cube, like a photo, like as if it was a photo shoot or something like that. I have not, like, my God, I have not done much blendering because since swapping, like, since this new year. I've not done too much, and since getting onto the new keyboard, which I love for video gaming and such, it is not that great of a keyboard for just willy-nilly jumping into what's-mahoozy, into words are failing me, into Blender and like moving the camera around crazily and all that. So, all right. Where have you started the game? No, you've not started the game yet.
No.
Why would I think you started the game?
Because that would be thinking that I was smart.
You know, I just realized I haven't like posted a message in all the different places of like, oh hey, I'm online and live. I am still in my like, you know, trying to do the coding nonsense and such, but I shouldn't be thinking about how to do that now, because I don't have the guarantee that it'll work, and I should really only try that when it, you know, does the thing and such. All right, copy that, going live there. I'm gonna throw it in like only a few places. We're into Act 3 now of our of our thingy-madiggy. If they hadn't been watching us like however long ago, I doubt that they'll want to jump in now and such, unless they're, here for the vibe and the very podcasty fashion in which you and I sometimes talk. Also, did I forget to? Yes, I did. Where's the thing? Discord. There we go. There he is, right there. There's code.
Pause music. Pause.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, that good. That good.
That good. Yeah.
Good.
So, yeah. And alright, dink donk.
Alright, I got Baldur's Gate firing up now. Baldur's Gate.
Gat. Hi there, Shibore. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully you're doing alright. Where's my original tweet?
Oh, hey Grant. What does this lever do here?
No, do not be pulling at any levers.
What do you mean? Oh, sorry, my hand slipped. Bye, Grant.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. You are oh so funny. So funny.
For those who are over on my side of the stream too, so I'm playing with Grant at the moment, and yeah, because I'm a moderator over on his side, I can do all sorts of evil things.
You could be adding quotes, you could be doing all sorts of things. Instead, you're just what's the word? Instead you're just throwing the lever.
I said evil, okay? Evil.
You could be doing nice things.
That means being nice.
What? What's so wrong about that?
You know how hard it is to be nice?
It's not that
it means
hard.
Caring. It means, yo.
Ooh, I can post it in this channel because I haven't done this before. Alrighty, absolutely newbie in there. Okay, I can't. Don't.
Stupid
really
me. I click continue like an idiot. Shibo, hello. Thank you for coming in.
What the? This is a repost original artwork, but it can be found here. Cool. Easy to understand. Direct.
Also, hello Sven. How you doing? How you doing, pup?
I love how. There you go. Hey, she liked my comment. Oh, I don't know if she should say, but big boobies. Hi Shibari. I'm sorry that you're not like your absolute best, but that's okay. Like sometimes your day, as the song says, as when it has to be in your day, your week or month, or even your year, I'll be there for you when the da 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 da. Like an episode of Friends. We're gonna be doing something. Do you think we have a Friends vibe, Code?
I think we got a Friends vibe.
Yeah, let's be real. Like, I'd be either a Ross or a Chandler. I don't think I would be a Joey. I reckon I'd be one of those two. What's your thoughts on the?
Joey's the dumb one, isn't he?
Joey is the dumb actor who loves his food. He's like there's nothing wrong with him, quite honestly. Originally, like in season 1, they were gonna have Joey and Phoebe become a unit, become a couple, but that didn't go off. Like, they kept, I think Phoebe wasn't comfortable with it or something like that, so they just kept her as sort of like this, haha, funny girl with like crazy what's-a-mahoozies, and Joey just being a womanizer and what have you. There was
I'd probably be Joey a little bit just because of how dumb he is and how dumb I am.
Fair. Okay. All right.
I'm doing okay. Heard unfortunate news earlier tonight, so that hit me hard. Oh yeah. Or Akira Toriyama.
Oh, we're gonna bring that up. We're gonna bring up the Akira Toriyama. We're gonna.
Also, you're a little to the side a little bit too, I think, because you've
yeah. I just haven't bothered like changing my camera. Hang on a second. Bam. There we go. We're gonna. So yeah. Hang on. Invite friends. Baldur's Gate. Invited.
Honestly, I think it's hit everyone a little bit hard, because, I mean, who didn't grow up with Akira Toriyama and Dragon Ball?
It is honestly like a bit of a shame, but I don't know if it's just because of when we had it happen to us. When was Brexit? When was Brexit? That was like 2016 nonsense or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like to be honest with you, there was like a lot of like big names that public is joining your game. Why is it giving me the warning when it
No
knows
idea.
it's you? Like, why public? Just there we go. All right. So ever since then, where it was like, oh yeah, David Bowie, the guy who plays a Snape, like we have a large number of people passing away that, you know, was like near and dear to a lot of our different childhoods or to movies and TV shows and such. So hearing Akira pass away is a little bit sad, but then like also at the same time, I think just because of how long Dragon Ball has like been part of the thing and such, and how there was like the ups and downs with its quality of content because of like, you know, Dragon Ball GT, for instance, it wasn't like a 100% thing for me of like whether or not Akira was still alive. I would have put him in the same level as not Stan Lee, but one of Jack Kirby, for instance, where because like everyone remembers Stan Lee for all the comics and such, but that also helps that he does his camo like every Marvel movie and such like that. So there's that. But then meanwhile, Jack Kirby, who is fairly strong influence for Marvel, no doubt, but you know, we don't talk about.
Yeah, but let's not forget that also Akira Toriyama was also the guy behind things like, you know, the Dragon Quest series and Chrono Trigger.
Yes, so because his art style was because that was his art there as well. It was very familiar. It was on my throne for a while where I wanted like, because there was like this Akira Toriyama manga or something, like it was like an omnibus of his works. I imagine that particular book is going to go up in price afterwards and what have you if it was like,
why are all these paintings sitting here?
Because I dropped them there because I thought they would hang up, but apparently they didn't.
Alright, well, we'll just sell them.
Sell them? They were cool looking paintings. Also, I need to pause the music in the background. That's not pausing. That's pausing.
Well, then put them in the chest. I'll put them in the chest.
So yeah, plus Dragon Ball also had immense influence on stuff like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, and a ton of other... Oh yeah! Fun fact! When new Dragon Ball like Z content is released in Mexico, there's 2 days of cartel activity being decreased. Like it's
they're all big
no
fans
joke
of it.
that like the cartel are huge fans of Dragon Ball Z. Cookie for Bookie. Here's your cookie, Bookie. And the fact that it's like, oh yeah, if you're in Mexico, it's like they've almost been able to like see the charts where it's like, oh yeah, for the 2 days that Dragon Ball Z is released and the day after, crime is just like it's reduced by a heavy margin because of it. And that's their only explanation at the time. Was just like, oh, I guess they really like Dragon Ball Z, and it's just a very near and dear thing to them. Everyone talks about Akira. Yeah, no, everyone's talking about it now because it's like there's Capcom stuff which not a lot of people like have all the news and what have you. So because I've not kept properly up to date about Capcom releases and such, but you've kept up to date with the Capcom releases though, at least, right?
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah. So, oh, the music never stopped. That's why. All right, there we go. So there's like Dragon's Dogma 2 has their like character creator out as a demo, for instance. I think was one thing.
Yeah, yep. I'm gonna probably play that a little bit later on after I stream and have a look at that, see if anyone wants to join in.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Might do. I'm still tossing up what to do afterwards. Might possibly be either a little bit of Monstering Hunter, or I think at the moment because my subscription for Final Fantasy is probably out at the moment.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't updated it yet, and that was sort of nearing that time of, oh no, need to get it, you know.
Okay.
Let's kick in.
Because my dumbass was all like, oh yeah, no, I can do this at any time. I'll be fine.
And then it gets fast approach. You go because you pay for it in monthly installments, or
yeah, monthly, just so that way I know I've got the money for it. Otherwise, I would throw like, you know, a yearly subscription on if I had the money for it.
I don't know if they have a yearly one, but I know I think I put myself down for like a 6-month one, which is fairly costly because, you know, they give it to you in European prices, but it's technically cheaper than doing it month by month, especially. And if I have to deal with like currency conversion, then I would rather try and get that discount as best as I can.
Yeah.
So yeah. I remember when the whole Goku versus Jiren thing happened a few years ago. Mexico had it aired in large theaters. It was a whole okay. If anyone's wondering, like, where I'm reading some of the messages and such, Code the Yoshi is also streaming right now. So let me just give you a quick shout out, in case anyone is not aware. Code the Yoshi, everyone. I am playing with Code the Yoshi.
And on my side, I will do the same.
So yeah. Hide completed. So we need to investigate. We found a blackmail letter in a toy maker's cellar. Something dangerous is being placed inside toys donated to the refugees. We should find them and quickly. Oh.
You mean the toys?
Yeah. Where is the refugees? They're over in, Rivington, aren't they? Oh, no, that's not where we want to go. Oh, wait, no. Worms Crossing is, like, the different...
Yeah, because don't forget, we're in the lower city now.
Yeah. Alright, so... Do we want to go to Rivington to try and find the refugees' toys and things?
Probably not a bad idea. Let's do that.
Entering a different region. Yes, please. So yeah, we're just trying to get through as much of our like side content as we can. Try and get as much, you know, boost our allies and our power.
And our loot.
That too.
Also, I need to shrink you down. You are incredibly large.
Well, it is Macro March.
Yeah, but I don't need you filling up my whole fucking screen.
Oh, why not? How dare?
Because people need to see more than your fat ass.
You're having people see my ass of all things? I thought I was giving like a very well presentable little Zeebs.
Another step forward.
Yeah, well
Wait,
presentable.
Am I stealthing right now? No, I'm not. Okay, cool.
We need to walk.
Oh, and then Bookie goes and shows my ass. Thanks,
One
Bookie.
foot in front of the other.
Alright, so where...
No, no offense, but you got the bigger cake here. I do have the bigger cake.
Alright, so... So there's dealing with the gnomes. Speak to Raphael.
I bet the gnomes are probably the guys we know of from the tower.
Maybe. I'm just like looking around trying to figure out like where the refugees might be. Oh, have we like...
I took you for one of them.
We've like
moment.
not explored an entire area
Refugees,
here, haven't
that
we?
is. You're a recent
Yeah.
arrival for sure. Still bearing dust from the road. But you have something they lack.
I got plenty of dignity.
Dignity.
No. We have something
These
they lack.
wretches have
He's
nowhere
saying
to
that
call
the
home,
refugees don't
looking
have
to
dignity,
live off
which
what
is
they
a
carry.
you know very
And nobody to
poor
help them but
assessment.
themselves. And me. Me? I lighten their load. You'd be shocked by the sort of things they bring with them. Gold and jewels, they can't easily exchange. Heirlooms, rarities, sentimental items. Even cremation urns.
He's
Alas, you
dwindling
can't
them.
eat grandmother's ashes. Nor can you easily trade a golden candelabra for a bowl of soup. That is where I come in. Liquidity. Their heirlooms for my gold.
Uh-huh.
You're just gonna read his thoughts.
Yep.
All right, let's see. You got a pretty good like intelligence rating, right?
Reasonably, yeah.
Nice.
Difficult to get a good day's trade done when I'm expected to keep watch for Shadowheart at the same time. Who knows when she'll finally turn up?
Ooh.
Mm.
I have an acquaintance you might be more willing to deal with. Do we want to go with that option? Or do we want to leave the conversation? I'm gonna swap out Karlak for Shadowheart and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a look at what he's got here first before we... Cold Snap, when creature misses you with an attack, if you succeed a DC 13 Constitution saving throw, or be chilled. Ah, okay, that's kind of cool.
Oh, Jahira has
Dwarven.
a quest for us.
Oh, does she?
So Bal's chosen is a doppelganger. Orin is testing you. Either she thinks herself a predator toying with her food.
Hellrider longbow.
Here's what you might do. Good.
Otherwise, not much really there that I would really sort of throw or want to.
This all
Might as well
begins to
throw
mean
some of
what
this
you
shit I
did
don't
from
need.
making.
I'm sad because I accidentally.
The
let
last time I fought
tiefling husband-
doppelgangers,
Wait, which
the
one's the
Balspawn
tiefling
Sarevok
husband?
was using them to
Are you
subvert
talking about
the
like
city
the fallen
government.
paladin that we
Aid his
saved like
rise
back in
to
Act
power.
2?
But Orin, he's more predator.
Oh, I can now
than
trade
politician.
Halsin's gear too from my window.
She simply wants
Oh,
to make
nice.
us feel hunted, isolated. Tell the Lordling that Orin is watching. Seems that Gortash and Orin have had a little falling out. We should leverage that.
Alright, so she wants to talk to us. There's Karlak. Where is Shadowheart? Because I need to.
There's a whole barn here we haven't explored too, I've noticed.
Don't go too far. I'm gonna get Shadowheart with us.
What's that? Go really far? Okay.
No, don't go any
I feel like
farther.
I'd see it again.
Don't make me have to like look over at your stream. Why did it stand
Well-
out?
I think I was the one who did it. I can recognize my own handwriting. How long ago was this? Years?
Okay, apparently Shadowheart like did graffiti
All the time
somewhere.
I spent training, hidden away from the world. I think I must have wanted to leave my mark somewhere. Just to prove I existed. Even to myself.
Also, Sven,
join me.
Your dance card is full. Lose a partner. Lead the way then.
I love how
oh, so now,
you can now like just go to them and they're like, "Oh, I need you to swap someone," and it's like, "Yeah, we just swap that person." Alrighty, let's have. Also, she needs to level up. Halsin
Yep.
is the only other himbo you can recruit. I'm okay. The only other the only tiefling in our party is as far as I know, Karlak. Karlak is a chick, a sexy chick, mind you, but not a dad. Who's the fucking dad?
Halsin.
No, again, tiefling dad. So, alright. Light, Blade Ward. I'm gonna give her Produce Flame. Because that might be a better cantrip than her, like, Firebolt thing. So, and then right
Yeah, but
now-
also Blade Ward's not a bad one either, because it halves the damage that people take.
Oh, actually, yeah, let's go for that cantrip. So she's still got all her aids. At level 5, right now she's got Contagion, which is poisoning an enemy and possibly afflicting them with a disease of our choice. Mass Cure Wounds. Flame Strike. Insect. Greater Restoration. Freedom of Movement. Banishment. Aberration, Celestial, Elementals, Fey, Fiends, and Undead at disadvantage on attack rolls against you. Planar Binding. Greater Restoration, Insect Plague.
Those are all spells that you gotta prepare. They're already in her inventory.
Okay, but yeah. Alright, cool. So we can like look at these at a later time then.
Yeah.
Alrighty then, cool, fair enough. I'll accept those. Yep, that's it. Okay, so that was the only thing. Alright. Leave camp.
Nearly there now. You can see the city.
Okay, so you went down. Is that where the...
We pay taxes for you to protect us.
This is where the trader was, you're saying?
To take
Yeah, right here. I pinged him for you.
make trouble.
Young lady, Shadowheart, a word if you will.
Alright, let's see.
I just lost a wager, thanks to you.
Who are you?
Someone who bet that you'd never be foolish enough to actually show your face in this city again. But here you are. And the gold in my purse is soon to take flight.
You're a Shararn, aren't you, from Shadowheart's Cloister?
There have been whispers about you, sister. About your faith, your loyalty, your company. I can't help but feel the strangest twinge of disgust as I look upon you. Is it true? Has Our Lady forsaken you?
I'll let her handle it.
I know the truth. I know my parents still live. Tell me where they are, and I have no quarrel with you.
I'm afraid the quarrel is unavoidable, thanks to you. Now I must report your reappearance. If you are intent on bringing matters to a head, then seek out the House of Grief in the lower city.
Okay, so we now know where
Though,
to
if I was
send
you,
her
I'd be
quest
very
line.
tempted to just forget it all and disappear. You have some form at doing so, after all.
I'm not paid to debate with civilians.
No, we pay.
Gods. Go talk to Nestor if you must. I've got plenty on my plate with these mewling geese.
Alrighty. Different traveler's choice. Hey, look.
Attention. Donations desperately needed for refugees. Every copper helps.
Donations?
Oh.
Do you know advice? The refugees. If you don't have anything to donate, you can get going.
What did you just persuade to him?
I need to get in the barn. There might be something dangerous in there.
Oh yeah, the toys!
Did you forget that's why we were here?
No, I was exploring the toys as well, but I was like, why were you trying to get into the barn with all the donations? I was thinking more nefariously than... Or you were being more... I was thinking you were being
I'm
more...
gonna let you through because I don't want to take any
nefarious.
risks. But you better not be lying.
Alright, hang on. Where are you? Okay, you're over there. Alright, hang on. So... yeah, there's a little thingy-majiggy about suspicious toys. So... Hang on, I'm catching up. Hi there, Het! Did you ever have this thing where a game should come out and then it didn't? Are you talking like an early access game, or are you talking about like Half-Life 3 and Titanfall 3?
Ooh, some clothing.
Crate.
Looks empty.
Wheelbarrow, an open crate. There's a lot of crates here. Broadhorn.
I hear you've been given permission to...
No, okay, cool. Where are... There isn't gonna be like an obvious... Oh wait, hey, look! Toys.
Oh.
This place is trapped.
Disarm.
You were right. Explosives. Now give me some room. I need to make sure the rest of these donations are safe.
There we go. A full-fledged...
You try and find whoever is responsible for this.
Trying to
Yay! Might as well take a quick look around while we're here. Might find something good.
What do you think are the chances this guy is just gonna look at this thing instead of just... Can I disarm it? Yes, I can. Cool. Oh my goodness. Alrighty.
Oh.
Alright, I just need to roll I just need to roll 10 or higher. Oh, would you look at that? What a wasted natural 20.
Can you please give me a hug? Bet your arms would be so snug.
Go on, Grant. Give them a hug.
Any one of us could have been blown to smithereens.
Surprise-based teddy bear. Alright. We got travel. We can just pick shit up in here? There's, like, none of it is red. Or...
I'm just sending these clothes to camp so we can fiddle and try them on later.
Alrighty then. Yeah, none of these are... Huh.
Oops.
What a terrible protection.
Like, I know, right? There is the donation chest, which we can't enter, which we can't.
No, that's fine. That's understandable. That one's got the monies. Ooh.
Now, mind your tone.
Dwarf lady?
Leave Christine to me.
Hello?
Lady dwarf person?
Lady dwarf, right there. Lady dwarf.
Lady dwarf.
Stand her, can't stand her! My sister-in-law. All law and no
should have figured
sister.
Shibore was playing build. I feel like a lot of people are at the point of playing Baldur's Gate 3 now, and it's just a question of how far everyone is going.
Whatever you need. I can't help you. Even talking is painful right now.
Give me guidance.
Ooh. Just.
After a quick examination, you conclude that your patient...
Really? This isn't necessary. I'm sure there are other people that need your help more urgently.
This is barely a scratch. What's the idea?
Not so loud. If those lads find out I'm faking, they might go off on their own. They're not ready for that. And frankly, I'd miss them. I don't really have any other friends. And I like those lads. So I think I'll stick around a while more.
Oh yeah, I just saw that Fortnite showing off the new season trailer.
Oh, the Cowboy Bebop one.
No, Fortnite. That was Overwatch.
Oh, okay. What's Fortnite then?
Fortnite's doing the Greek gods.
Oh.
And I've heard there's possibility of of nobody seeing it coming.
We got here first, friend.
What?
If you get what I mean.
I don't get
you know.
We leave behind.
You know, they'll never see it coming.
Oh, Persona. Okay. Oop.
Might be worth a look.
Apparently, Alistair is seen. Oh, Alistair? You mean from?
We're as desperate as the rest of these savages.
Has been Hotel or just
Yeah.
generically? Because here's the thing: is Alistor is like an actual deity and kind of nonsense. I don't know if Has Been Hotel has the it would be a fairly cheap licensing, I would be real with you, but I don't think it's that big of a popularity that Fortnite
If you're here to fill an empty stomach, look elsewhere. Folks swarmed what little was odd, stuffing their pockets. Bloody animals.
Yeah. Well, there's already the Has Been Hotel fan emote added on.
Okay. What's a grr?
Well, it's a grr.
You wanna come over here? Cause so many of these peeps have weapons on them.
Against us.
I feel like a fight.
All right,
could
hang on,
break
hold
out.
up. Boop.
Yep, there's all kinds of stuff in the shack from the looks
It's
of
a
it.
pyre. Most likely they're burying someone that's died.
Cazador's nest of serpents must be exterminated.
Oh, he said Cazador.
Ooh.
Rechte Hathran Rust.
Dang. Let's see.
My friend from the
let's
Hag
see.
Swamp.
Oh!
You're a
It's
bright
him
light
again!
on a dark day.
Did you ever find that vampire
I did
swan?
not. Although I suspect you knew that much already. Oh, yes. I know you hid him from me. But this is not the moment to discuss it. This is about the dead, not the undead.
Frey, Vald Iskdurovna. Frey, Vald Iskablast.
Our tribe left camp on a rescue mission. Only Alma and those you see here returned.
Okay. Rescue from what? Did they say
That's a good
whoever they set
question.
out to rescue?
They could not.
Im Orak. Nete.
This might be the funeral for the people they tried saving.
Netra.
Maybe.
I will say no more. It's not my tale to tell.
No. That shame is mine alone. I thought I knew the faces of all your friends, Gandrel. But this one is new to me.
I'm just that charismatic. I didn't know this was a funeral. I'm sorry for your
Those
loss.
who have left us will be celebrated. not mourned. They died well, after all.
As we all hope to. And this is the one I spoke of, my lady. The stranger I met while hunting the spawn. And they went on to kill the undying General Thorm. If the rumors are true.
Yes.
Yes.
A fine trophy. Perhaps you would like to claim another.
I take no pride in killing, nor trophies from it. Sometimes, it simply must be
It is
done.
a solemn task. One this city forces us to undertake time and again. Baldur's Gate is haunted by many things, but one of its most insidious is the vampire Cazador. For years, his foul spawn have stolen away innocents at night, whisking them back to his palace. Recently, they struck our camp. They took our children, every last one, our whole future.
We are monster hunters all.
Literal
our purpose
kids?
is to kill beasts like these. But in our haste
I think
to
they're talking
save
about
our
literal
little ones,
kids.
we were rash. We charged straight into an ambush.
They tore us to pieces. Vampire spawn and werewolves. I have never seen a vampire's lair so heavily guarded. What's left of my tribe is wounded and broken. We cannot stand against him to save our children. But perhaps the Slayer of Ketheric could.
I'll do whatever I can.
If you do this, our entire tribe will be in your debt. On our honor, it will be repaid. May the gods keep you, and damn your enemies.
Alright. Hey, look at that. Halcyon like that.
How dare you!
Hey! Sir Dragon! How dare.
Thank you, Sir Dragon!
So we should do nothing. Just wait for the next one.
That's a friendly-looking shadow.
Get him! Get him for taking my daddy!
Oh, look, you're moving into the red, it looks like. Look at that. You're going like...
Stop picking on me!
Ooh, a household prayer. What does it say? Or you can just pick it up. Lathanar to light, Saloon to guide, Kellum Vor to judge, and passage provide. Okay.
Oh, there's a mill over here.
Oop. Boop. Oh, you mean this mill right over here? With the
Yeah, the big windmill.
Ah, yeah. I like this game. Oh, hey, there's a cat. What was that noise? Oh. That would be it.
Look at that.
What? Look at what?
I don't know.
The haystack? Because it was just like, investigation, look at that.
I think I got an arrow out of it.
Okay.
Here's something earlier.
One day I'll catch a break.
There's no point arguing with the guards. We're not getting past that checkpoint without the right papers.
Yep, nothing there, which means lockpicking the old rusty door.
One second, I'm just gonna switch over my headset because this one's beeping at me.
Ah, not to worry, not to worry. So far, nothing has happened. There's an abandoned windmill. And there's a hatch.
Don't go too far.
Yeah, no, I'm just waiting on you. Because there's a hatch. There's a hatch.
Hang on one second. Almost there. Nope.
There's a hatch.
Grant, I see you looking back and forth at me. What are you doing?
There's a hatch.
What evils is thou committing?
No evils. Hi there, Sage Tanya. Welcome to the stream.
I can hear you now.
There's a hatch.
There's a hatch in the floor here. Let us go explore it.
Oh.
There's a sleeping mind flayer.
Brain starved and sleeping. What's the final warning? This is a notice demanding that the miller pay off his debts lest his creditors oust him and claim the mill. A stuffed owlbear toy.
Before you lies the unconscious body of a mind flayer, glistening and raw.
I don't like how you just say raw.
Unattended. How fortunate.
Doesn't feel
Oh,
good.
but it is. This one has only just transformed. It is weak, vulnerable. Its potential ripe for harvest.
Alright, you pick what you want to do with this.
Kill it. Absorb its power. Just like you did before.
I'm gonna be real, the choice is yours. We've already gone through, like, the major, like, checkpoint thingamadiggy of the half-illithid thing, and I survived that.
Yeah, do a thingo for it. Let's see what people choose.
Oh, a thingo. Alright, we're gonna start a community poll. If you are on my stream, you will be able to vote, so long as you're on the desktop, I might have to add, you will be able to vote for either 1, 2, and 3 on what you want to have happen. Let's see.
I'll put another shout out for Grant's stream, so you can all go over and vote over there.
Hello, Codes viewers. Excuse me.
Alright. Let me know when you're, oh, okay, so we've got attack the creature or sneak away.
So yeah, it's a 50-50 right now, and I'm kind of waiting for whoever decides to just sort of split the difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting on, see who's going to split it.
So yeah. Yeah, it is fun, Sage. We don't use it too often, I'll be real with you. I think, like, the reason I don't use it too often is just because community polls are fun when there's a community watching you.
I feel like later on, if I decide to go through this, because I might replay this game and go through it later on my own, like maybe like a year from now. I just go through it on my own and just sort of be all like, okay, this is going to be one of those things where chat is going to decide some major scenario options.
I reckon it's an interesting feature, especially when it especially if there's like a Dark Urge storyline or something like that, because I know that one has like the whole sometimes you might be forced to do evil things outside of your control and shit. So to have it be like, oh, even chat gets to do the evil shit sometimes if they want to and what have you would be good. But I feel like it's only applicable when you have a because you and I, we have like followers, we have viewers, we have all that kind of such. But the scale of things like, you know, these community things, especially when it's asking for active participation, is a different story entirely. Yeah.
All right, so it's looking like we're going to be stuck on these two until someone breaks the tie. You want attack? All right,
Yeah,
let's do it.
We might get some XP. Attack the creature before. Oh, look at that! It wakes up. Anyway, what the fuck is this?
What? No! I've had so little time!
Cool. I am on the wrong side. Alright, here we go. You ready for this?
Let's get this over with.
He's got 2 rounds of like, surprise as well. He is not gonna have a fun time. And then...
Widdly wee, shillelagh.
And then... Yeah, so this is the problem with her firebolt, is that it uses intelligence rather than her...
recently.
Like...
Its mind is still fresh.
Ooh! You gain
can absorb
advantage
its
on
potential
insight
if
checks.
you consume it.
What's in it? Mind Flayer Brain.
Sickly gray exudes a sweet, putrid flavor.
Odor.
True soul alien, your time has come. The absolute calls to all faithful, and you have been faithful indeed. Leave your barracks, leave your armor, leave all insignia of rank behind you. You are part of the Flaming Fist no longer. You have been a loyal true soul, but soon you will be so much more. You will be one of us.
One of us. One of us.
One of us.
Hey, Luminor, how you doing?
How's it going, Luminor? You're gonna be one of us now.
Yeah. I'm an electric car. I don't go very fast or very far. And if you drive me, people will think you're gay. One of us. One of us.
I was just more thinking, like, just way more directly related to us, where it's like, oh, when the friend N says they don't like furry shit, but then they tell you about their Beastars, OC, and you're just like, one of us.
One of us.
The Circus of the Last Days has returned.
Huh?
See Dryads, Jinn, and Dribbles
You
the
spotted
Clown
something.
back with a new...
Yeah, what was that? Hang on, what was that? It was up here,
dirt
was
mound,
it?
right there.
Whereabouts?
Right there. You can see it if you, like, rotate it this
Oh,
way.
there it is, sorry.
Yep. There we go, here we go.
It's my dirt mound, don't steal it.
Hi there, Sky. Welcome to the stream. But yeah, as you said, Tanya.
Potion. Oh, purple worm toxin.
Ooh.
Potion, elixir of sea invisibility.
Those two will be useful for you. I've already got plenty of potions and what have you.
Yeah.
Alrighty. There's a refugee. More peeps over here. How's it going,
More
Sky?
dead chickens over here.
Ew.
Who's killing all these cocks? Oh, it might have been the sleepy mind flayer dude.
It might have been.
I want a computer so I can play a cool D&D game, but I'm broke. If you want Illuminal, if you want a cool D&D game that doesn't require a big NPC, I would recommend Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 1 and 2. Not the third one, 1 and 2.
There's always, as well, the playing Dungeons and Dragons, like, with pen and paper. That requires only a pen and paper and your imagination. Alright, so the Steel Watch are... Cookie for Night Sky. Alright, so the Steel Watchers is their lone race.
Welcome to Sword Coast Couriers. To send and to serve. Delivery not guaranteed.
Sounds like the Australian Post.
Sorry to tell you, I found the body of one of your... Haha.
Comwick. That's a real shame. Fine courier he was. Stumped how I'll replace him. Most want to get into the city these days, not leave it. We've had to cut our courier services completely.
Yeah. Not to worry,
I'll
Sky, you have a good
tell you,
sleep.
it's left me
I will
in
be
a
online again, like, tomorrow
I'll
morning
send what
for
I
Final
can
Fantasy
by
shit.
pigeon, but now something's attacking them and all. Become a postmaster, Danzo. It'll be easy. Nobody mentions having to spend your evenings hunting for pigeon carcasses, do they?
Oh, you want to know how pigeon couriers work?
There's more to his anxiety than a few missing
Like,
letters.
when they, like, medieval times, like, sending out birds to send the message. You know how that was done?
What's that?
It was... Have a wild guess how you think the medieval people would have... what their technique was for guaranteeing that a bird with your message would fly to another kingdom and you know, have the message to the tower and what
Well,
have you.
because also, like, pigeons are also known to be able to fly their way back home without any issue.
Yeah. But how would the medieval people do it? We're not talking World War One kind of peace. We're talking medieval times, before the clever science.
Serious, but you can understand if people think I can't even deliver my own letters, I'd be finished.
Uh-huh.
Donk. Guidance.
Friendship. Again?
But yeah, so the way it was done in medieval times is you sent more than one bird.
Ah,
you just sent a whole ton. You just put it on blast. It wasn't a case of directly to this person. It was more of a to whom it may concern in the kingdom.
Bring me the letter.
So the idea of like, oh, I sent you a letter, and they're like, oh, I didn't see it, is a bit of a like misdemeanor, because it's like, listen, it's not just one letter that was sent to them. It was more like 20.
Yeah. Suppose you've stumbled across those letters yet?
What letters is he talking about? Where have you been getting these letters?
Stumped how I'll replace him.
No idea.
Thank the gods. Unopened as well. Oh, what a relief. My customers will be most pleased.
I'm at the postie.
Here's your fee.
Why are you helping the postman?
Actually, I want to know what's in these letters. Where's the other one that I haven't opened?
Don't open it.
No, I have more than one.
That's a federal crime. Don't open it.
Caress is caress.
I'm opening it.
No, don't. Oh my god.
Oh, to obtain information about the current activities of Moonrise Tower and its environs held by Catholic thrall orders, take lodging in the Last Light Inn and begin an investigation at the House of the Local Healing. Reports indicate corruption, but no corroboration has been yet obtained. Note, the Regent Storm family,
Not the federal crime. We'll have to call in the wee woo, please. No. Look. Code might not get it because the post in Australia is just absolutely shit and what have you. But in the United States of America, the post has a barest minimum of, like, you know, competency and what have you. Neither rain nor snow, they will deliver. And that is like one of the few like federal government guarantees you can get from the U.S. government, which is that the post will reach you. It's not like Australia where it's like, oh, this suburb we can't deliver to there. It's not like one of those kinds of nonsensical things of like, I'm sorry, but because your package weighs more than a kilo, we can't send your package to this address. No, in the United States, everywhere is possible. There is no limit to the U.S. Postal Service, which is why there is such an amazing, like, courier service on top of that, because the courier service doesn't need to hit all the, like, required areas. They just need to go into, like, you know, the most populous area. It's not like FedEx is all of a sudden being given, like, federal contracts and what have you. FedEx is just trying to, you know, it's the original reason, it's like one of the classical capitalism things, which is you either do it cheaper than your competitor, but let me be real with you, you're never going to be cheaper than the United States government, because technically speaking, the United States government is, like, you know, using tax to do all that kind of shit, which means that they use minimum wage and what have you. But that was also because of, like, some nonsensical Republican nonsense where technically speaking the United States Postal Service can't increase their prices of any of their packages beyond cost. So there's that. And then 2 was like, oh, making it, you know, a serviceable thing, like in this case for FedEx and, you know, all the other stuff, you deliver it faster. What do you got to say to that, Code?
I found some armor that increases your hit points temporarily when enraged.
Some days I forget it's not a patriotism is not like an international thing to the scale that America has it.
You want to cry about it?
No.
Okay.
I just need to remember.
There's actually some really good stuff here from this guy, from this person, if you want to grab him.
What do you need?
I think I'm okay. I'm checking out this guy here. Blightbringer. Attacking gnomes or dwarves with this weapon receives a... This is hilarious coming from a dwarf selling me this. Harmonic Dueler. Horns of the Berserker. You gain +2 bonus to attack when attacking creatures that have already taken damage. Unarmed and melee attacks will deal an extra 2 necrotic damage as long as you don't have your full health. If you don't deal any damage this turn, you take 1d4 necrotic at the end of your turn.
Ooh, sounds like a double-edged sword on that one.
Cape. At the beginning of the wearer's turn, the cloak activates, granting enemies disadvantage on attack rolls that target the wearer. It lasts until the wearer takes damage. Abso-fucking... That is an amazing cloak, because many of us don't have cloaks.
Yeah, that can be very useful.
It could be very useful. Alright, now...
That'd be a great one for a stealth player, too.
Alright, now the real question.
Can you do your normal cheat way of getting it?
It's not a normal cheat way, it's just the rules of capitalism. Damn it. Alright, Cloak of this thingamadoogie. Gauntlet of the War Master. Target has disadvantage on saving throws against your maneuvers and weapon actions. +1 attack. Insufficient gold? Oh, because it's like 4,000. Okay. Lol, Shadowheart barely has anything.
Limited edition adventuring starter packs are currently out of stock.
Alrighty, so
apologize for
armor
any
is bullshit.
inconvenience caused.
The helmet's probably not too bad if you know that you're gonna be able to deal damage.
Yeah, like it definitely makes it sound like as if, oh, you're supposed to give this to Karlach, but I'm like, I don't like the whole if you're not doing damage taking a d4 of necrotic.
There's that other armor that I saw earlier on too that might be useful.
Oh, would you look at that? This gives me Ice Knife and a 1d4 cold damage with my strikes.
Let me know if you find the Gemini gauntlets too.
Noted. Elementals and flybacks. I don't think I have a lot of gold on me anymore, is the problem as well.
Might be in the chests in the at the hotel.
Maybe.
Or a camp.
Father bless you.
Alrighty, so I've done my processing of the goods down there.
Let me just go to camp, see if there's anything here.
Yeah. Alright, so right now I'm currently wearing a cape where when I poison a foe, I heal myself for 1d4. Shadowheart isn't wearing a cloak right now, but I reckon... Do you think you would get advantage? Do you think the Cloak of Displacement would help you?
Well, I've got one for armor class and saving throw, which is just a cloak of protection.
Okay, so yours is like an overall just making it harder to hit you.
Yeah.
That might be better. Karlach already has like... sorry, not Karlach. Shadowheart already has like a pretty decent AC, and so giving disadvantage, like, helps even... I feel like would help even further. So.
Yeah.
Also, why is her portrait like black hair, but then in the game her hair is white?
This is the first time in 200 years I've seen these streets in the sunlight. You can forget just how much color there is in the world.
Aww.
Yes, of course. Obviously. Sorry, did you want something?
You want him in the party?
No. I just wanted to see if he had anything to say worthwhile.
Oh, okay. What did Sage Tanya just talk about? Yeah, we don't mess with our mail. We got so many methods. You never really thought about the mail that way. Speaking of wearing things. Oh, favorite thing to wear for the rain. Okay, I'm personally an umbrella kind of Zeebs, personally speaking. I like having like a fairly wide brim as umbrella as well, like the what's in the Zeebs? Like, you know, the golfer's umbrella, those wide brim ones.
Nah, nothing beats a good old Dryzabone.
What the fuck is a Dryzabone?
It's a raincoat. One made of really good quality leather that no water will get through.
You're talking about a poncho.
No, dry as a bone.
It sounds like a poncho.
It's dry as a bone.
Is it like jacuzzi and hot tub, where the jacuzzi is just a hot tub?
No.
The onus is on you in trying to like explain to me this dry as a bone. Poncho
It is
thing.
a very heavy leather-made raincoat. That, if you get a good quality one, will last you upwards of almost 100 years.
Okay. All right.
Because my family have had one. My mother's had one ever since I was a kid, and it's still going strong now.
Is it like raincoat, like the Paddington Bear coat looking thing?
Somewhat, but not really.
Okay. Oop.
Oop, don't go too far in. We've also got to try looking for the clown's parts, remember?
Well, yeah, but we kind of looked all over the place in the whatsamahoozy.
Glug, glug,
and I feel
glug,
like
glug,
if we're gonna, because what's more is like Dibbles the Clown, I think was kind of that Orin and the murder cult thingy-majiggy. So maybe by going through more of the murder cult, we'll get through.
I mean, we can always try and use a walkthrough to find it.
Lord so, yeah. Oh hey, Mizora. The fuck are you doing here?
Go on up. Pay Gortash a visit. A fate to remember, I guarantee.
Aha. Sounds like a bullshit idea. I'm heading to the lower city.
Alright.
I wonder if we could go to that level of, like, splitting the party, where it's like, oh, you're just over in the lower city and I'm over in the upper city or something crazy like that.
Would be useful if we could, but unfortunately not. Also, dilly gaff.
What's... Do
I look like I give a fuck?
Yep, that's dilly gaff. Where did I... That's not an anti-Donna thing. What is that? What is the source of the dilly gaff?
It is an Australian.
Because I can just think of the Australian accent. It's like, do I look like I give a fuck? Wait, no. Do I look like I give a fuck?
No, it's, do I look like I give a fuck?
No. Do I look like I give a fuck? It's in that kind of like a rhythm.
If not over,
Alrighty.
It's Kevin Bloody Wilson.
Who is Kevin Wilson?
Kevin Bloody Wilson.
Who is Kevin Wilson?
I don't mind. So long
It's
as
Kevin
you're-
Bloody Wilson.
It's not a flat fee. So, you having a go or not? And move.
My God, peoples, he doesn't know who Kevin Bloody Wilson is. I mean, how could you?
Because I'm not, like, full-blooded Australian is the thing.
Oh.
Oh my god. Beggars.
About time. The Manip assured me a builder would come around a 10-day ago, and hold it. You're not the builder. Which means I've got no use for you.
Who's she?
No idea, just,
Look here, son. To get by in this place, you got to be tough as tax. There's no winning over the hooligans
a
at the
very
Blushing
arts and
Mermaid with a
crafty
smile and a
fucking
nice
tool.
hello. Now
Yeah.
either learn to fix my broken shutters, or you wag your tongue elsewhere.
I forgot I needed to like do my thingamajiggies, but it's okay. I rolled with advantage. We're totally. There we go. Oh, more blood.
All right, hang on. Whereabouts are you? All right, I'm coming over to you. Hold up there.
Yeah, you can see like ball symbol like just beyond the door.
Yep. All right, go on in.
This corpse has been desecrated, displayed.
Go
and there's
Humphrey
nothing random
Trents.
about it.
A fake Balthazar's head. Oh, hey, there's a pelvis.
Best keep your hands to yourself. You're being watched.
What did you pick up?
Nothing.
Oh, if we try and pick up... Okay, can you close the door, please?
Is that the clown's pelvis, is it?
Yeah, it's the clown's pelvis. Thank you. Balthazar something or other. The effigy of Balthazar, who lacked ambition. What use his refusal? He thought himself free, but destiny claimed his corpse the same. Below is an exaggerated signature written in blood for... Orin the Red. Don't open the door.
Circus clowns. What an end for Dribbles the Clown.
Oh, hang on. That was an update on Dribbles the Clown, was it?
Yeah, because I just picked up the pelvis.
Hang on. What
We
was the
found the pelvis,
update?
the arm, the hand. We have found a severed hand in the thingamadoogie. And we found the torso. Looks
How
like
much more am I doing?
Do you want me to Google that then?
Yeah, because I'm wondering how much more we have to find.
Alright, hang on a second.
Based on, I think we found about half of his corpse.
Dribble's body parts. I love how that's an auto-completed thing. Alrighty, so... The torso... Alright, hang on a second. Let me just check my inventory real quick. Ding, donk. Bink. Alright, so... We have found an arm, a hand, a pelvis, and a torso. So we found... Yeah, so torso, pelvis, arm... Okay, so the leg we can find in the lower city. Alright, so we're looking for a leg, a foot, and a head. So yeah, we got... Alright, so we got 3 more items to look for. The leg can be found... La Vernicia's house, slightly west of the lower city central wall waypoint. A macabre scene with spiders that are being... Okay, so... Donk. Ding. And then after that is the foot.
Alright, I'll follow you.
Up to die by the city. A real people's broadsheet would care.
Reagan.
Still can't fathom that they hang folk in this city. Those gallows get more use than some temples. Every 10 day, I write into the Boulder's mouth about it, and every day...
Alright, cool. So we're looking for... Lavernia's home. Where the fuck is Lavernia's? So it's... west of the lower city central wall. Never eat soggy. Okay, so it's somewhere like... Alright, I'm gonna use the lower city central wall thingamadiggy. Go. And so they said it was west, so it's probably in that like random black area.
Yeah.
Let's see, is there like any other easier crossings?
There's the Baldur's Gate portal.
Alright, I'm gonna hit my marker here and just let my character do some pathing and see where he ends up. Because, yeah, that should drop him.
You'll be right in no time.
Good, because we have no time. This leaky wine's due back to barracks.
Oh, Jesus!
What happened?
There was an explosion. Did you do that?
No, where are you?
Oh, it's,
Hot.
Arjaz Oblo...
Incredible.
Who the fuck?
No idea. I'm making my way over to you.
What are the chances it's you?
Have we talked to this woman before? Araj?
Forgive the mess. Your blood is far more volatile than I'd anticipated.
Oh, she's the the woman that did the thingamadiggy for we like Astarion bit her and got a potion.
Oh.
It's a breakthrough in the sanguine arts, the likes of which the world has never seen. The Grand Matriarch will have no choice but to restore House Ablodra after I present her with my research.
Explosive blood was not what I was expecting.
Rabbiting on about myself when I have you, the prize bleeder, on my very doorstep.
Uh-huh. Hi, Lynx, how you doing?
Inside, we could discuss something far more exciting than drow politics.
Uh-huh.
Why not?
Yes. That is, do follow me.
Cool makeup, though. You're gonna have the conversation with her?
No, I'll let you have the convo.
Okay. I thought... So, Jesus Christ. Where the fuck is she going? Okay.
Down here. Oh, what was that? What was that?
A Crimson Draught's hatch key.
Your thievery has been noticed. Choose your next move carefully.
Can you make her friend?
No, I can't. Oh, hang on. Actually, maybe I can. Hold up. No, because I'm already too far in the conversation.
Radio. Hey, natural 20. Thank you.
You've been given the benefit of the doubt this time.
Oh, you're in a conversation now? Okay.
No, you are.
Have attracted attention.
I already
It
did
seems
my...
an explanation may be in order.
I don't know what's going on.
It seems to think you're in a conversation.
I'm stuck.
Can you exit out?
I might try. Let me just main menu. Alright, now see if you can take over my character.
No. Alright, I'm... Oop, hang on. Code left the game.
Alright.
Oh, okay. No, it just wants you to... Try to talk your way out of the situation. Deception, bonuses, friend, guidance. There we go.
Oh, lucky. Can we find a watering hole in the shade to hide over the weekend? Not sure.
Alright.
Why? Why do you need a watering hole?
Let me invite you. Ding dong. Tell me that it's the what's the whoosies?
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch all witch, the wicked witch. Ding dong, the fucking bitch is dead. I mean wicked witch.
Alright, F5. Alright, so noted. She didn't like it when I took the key when it said it was when I said it was interesting.
And you smell like that place down the dock.
Ah.
Ow!
A cozy little spot, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because it's gonna be really bloody hot this weekend, almost in the 40s.
Oh.
In the keep of Erngoth
Yeah, we're getting some extreme fire warnings for around work and everything like that too.
Of my research is soon to be faceted. All you have to do is drink Formula Gruner.
Is she flirting with me as she's telling me to drink an unknown beverage?
Well, yes. Formulae Arku through Fruak were spectacular failures. But Gruner is different. Believe me.
Uh-huh.
Alright.
Oh, marvelous. I've never been so excited for anything in all my days. Just stand over there, far over there, and drink up.
Far over there and drink up.
Where does she want me to stand?
Just whatever it is, just drink it. If you explode, I'll point and laugh. It's probably in your inventory.
Excuse me, where do you think you're going? You'll need to take the potion here.
Alright, hang on. There it is. 1d4 of damage.
Explosive.
Can't blame them, I suppose. They've got armies to deal with.
Well, I knew you had some explosive tendencies, Grant, but my god.
My heavens, you lived!
Of course I lived.
This is incredible. I'm seeing stars.
She has very little confidence in her alchemy. You seem surprised. Had you expected me to die?
I hypothesized you wouldn't, my friend. And you've proven me absolutely correct.
I think she's disappointed I didn't
You
die.
are the world's first detonative exsanguinator. To put it simply, from this day on, your blood goes boom. Big boom.
Oh.
It's incredible.
Okay.
All it needs is a spark.
A spark, you say?
Is this going to kill me?
Certainly not. But it might do damage to anyone who makes you bleed without your express permission.
I feel like this is a potion that would have been better off to give to Karlach.
Probably.
Because, like,
the
boiling, like, fire blood and such, and it would just be, like, explosion, like, every time. It'd just be like, boom, boom,
Skyrocket House of
boom, boom,
Lodra
boom,
back
boom,
to the
boom.
forefront of drow scientific thought. Indeed, it could protect my line for generations. Now, let me offer you a little treat. In exchange for the teensiest vial of your marvelous... I'll only ask a nominal fee in exchange.
It's a deal.
You really...
Wait, what was it?
She just wanted a bit of our blood, and now we can trade with her.
Oh.
So, fire shield.
You might want to sell off all that crap you don't need anymore. You're carrying a lot of shit.
Yeah, give me a moment. I will get rid of... That's some pretty good boots. You can... sell that. Sell that. Sell that. Embracing Karos is a thing. I'm gonna pick up the scroll of disintegrate. 10d6 plus 40 force damage. If the damage reduces the target to 0, it disintegrates into crumbly ash. Crawler mucus. Coat your active weapon with poison. Targets must succeed a constitution saving throw or become paralyzed and poisoned. Insufficient gold. God damn you. Sell this. I have plenty of gold elsewhere. Here it is. Look at this. Potion of Everlasting Vigor. Permanently increase your strength by 2 points. I need to figure out who's gonna have that. Let's see. Arcane Force. Cellulite Robes. Luminous Armor. Garnet Ring. Bucket. Yeah, I can.
Until next time.
Oh, look at that! We got a reward. All right, hang on. Let's see how Karlach handles. Let's see how Karlach handles it.
Boots have seen everything.
No.
Because you know the explodey blood thingamadiggy.
Yeah.
Exploding blood. Dunk.
You know, if she's got exploding blood, it's gonna be a real pain in the ass during, you know, that time of the month.
Yeah, so... Sorry, I'm just gonna, like, look up if Karlach is the best option for... So yeah, so...
At least the ash can be repurposed.
The unstable blood can... So, the blood on the floor becomes unstable blood, which makes it flammable. That's how it plays out. So, alright.
So it ultimately doesn't matter who gets it then.
Well, I feel like Karlach would be the most appropriate because, again, fire. Oh, sorry, are you stuck in the closet? Oh,
no.
Yeah. Alright, Karlach. Oh, look at her. Look at her. She's rearing to go. She's on fire and everything. Mommy.
Hey,
Come to
soldier.
me. We're heading out.
Looks like your troops all trooped up. You'll need to send someone packing if you want me to join.
Take Shadow Heart someplace.
Let's go.
There we go. And then... Travis Trust. I don't remember having all that. I don't think that was a me thing. Alright, don't think. Filter by potions. I'm gonna put like every single potion in here. And then scrolls. Also, why is it... Hang on. Ding, sort by type. There we go. There to there. I keep having scrolls popping up in my inventory for whatever reason. Dink, and then...
So I might have found something.
Oh, okay. Hang on a second. Give me a minute. I just need to...
Soldier.
Never a dull moment.
How do I still have, like, so much... Oh, it might be my gold, maybe? Hang on. Wait. 15, 15, 8, 8. Okay, so I think I know why everything seems so heavy.
Yeah, because you got the parts of the clown.
Yeah. Chargebound Warhammer. Won't be needing that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Oh, that's why. Okay, hang on. I kept, like, throwing things and it picked up something else. That's why. Alright, dink, donk. The acid vials, put that away. Because you can get into this, like, chest as well, can't you?
Not yours, no.
Really? Because I can get into this one.
Yeah, but is that my one, though?
No, probably not, sorry. Gosh darn it, little Incineroar. Can I have a big hug? Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't... Let me give you a hug. Let me give you a hug. Brr. Big hugs. Alright, keep the keys.
Bigger! Bigger!
Oh yeah, and you can make me bigger because I'm now, like, hyper himboed.
Bigger! Bigger!
Oh, Code, I need to get, like, a voice line from you.
Bigger.
At one
Bigger.
point.
Didn't I send you some?
No. Or maybe you did one. Maybe you did them like a while ago, but I didn't think they were like applicable because it was like very horny sounding kind of bigger instead of it being a like I want one where it's like a case of like, you know, you heard like you saw like the latest like, you know, portion size you got from the cinema when you went for the popcorn and and they're like, "Oh, is there anything more I can help you with?" and you're just sort of like bigger. Bigger. Yeah, like that. Something like that. Cuz I think you were giving me like bigger. It's like no. This isn't you're trying
also,
to
you popped, by the way. You're back to your normal size.
What do you mean I popped? Oh, that's because I got hyper himboed. So now I am I'm like 10 if you look on my stream, I'm like 10 centimeters taller now. Because of So that's what I was trying to do with the gift subs and what have you, is that if, you know, someone does a gift bomb, then it will do this sort of thingy-majiggy. And actually, hang on a second. Gifted. And then it does the calculation. Dink, donk. Cancel. Dink, donk. Twitch, gifted, which is variable. And then in the thingy-majiggy, it does the thing. Do the scale up, and then it does the. You know what? I'm going to enable this trigger. So if someone does like a gift, like if they randomly gift to sub, so if not to a specific person, but if it's just to a random person. So what I can probably do then is duplicate this thingy-majiggy and go sub parentheses. So then that way, and then I just need to remove the trigger from the sub. That was you, wasn't it?
What was me?
That was you with the jump scare.
Who jump scared you?
You did.
No, because I don't have any bits.
I don't believe him, chat. Also, you can barely, like, when you zoom in, you can barely, like, see, like, I'm barely in frame because of, like, the fucking got bigger and everything like that. We'll fix my camera at one point, don't you worry. Alright, so there won't be one for when people subscribe, but we'll do that in the future. Alrighty then. Ooh, I got like 15,000 gold. Oh, actually, I got like quite a lot of gold. Alright, let me put that in there. Alright, I'm gonna get this face kit and potion.
Let me know when you're ready.
Will do. Mind reading. More potions. And...
Oh yeah, hit me baby one more time. I saw that.
What?
So apparently Jack Black did a cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Oh, okay. Nice. Alright, oh my god, we have so many weapons in here we could probably give up on at some point in the future. My god, look how much stuff.
Laddie, hello! Thank you for the raiding! How are you?
Hi there!
I'll give you a shout out, Laddie. So I'm currently streaming alongside Grant at the moment.
I grew. It's Macro March. I got bigger. Sorry, I just had to say that out loud.
Well, on his stream, he got bigger.
Yes, that.
How is Kingdom Hearts?
Ooh, which one?
So they're doing the 1.5 plus 2.5 remix. I'm not sure which one of that one they were doing.
Ah, okay. Hey, Letty. Elvish Laddie or Elvish Lady?
Elvish Laddie.
Laddie.
2 tonight. Okay, that's what they were doing.
All right. Do you want a top tip? You want a top tip about Kingdom Hearts and how to progress through it? You don't need to play all the other like games in the series. You just need to go through 1, 2, Birth by Sleep, and then you can just go to 3. And you get
I'm sure Laddie knows.
You can just get 90% of the story that way. You don't have to go through every single one of them.
They've played it all before.
Oh, so they've already done the whole thingamajiggy. You sure you didn't need this one? Haraknir's Bracers. You can cast Mage Hand as a bonus action, and it gives you, like, telekinesis.
Nah, that'd be a good one for maybe, Gale.
Ooh, that would be something for, the Githyanki. Yeah, because the Githyanki is just wearing the light thingamajiggy, so we'll give the Githyanki this one. Put that in the chest.
For the Githspanky.
Githspanky? I love my intelligence thingamadig. So, yeah, alright,
That's because you're a dumb. I mean,
Everlasting.
needing the extra intelligence.
I do need it. Alright, invisibility and invisibility. Wait, can I? There we go. Yeah, could. Excellent. Go. Sorry, I'm just like looking at all my different. Ooh, fireball.
I'm just waiting for you because I found 3 characters I want to talk to.
Ah. Light. Weird arrow thingy-majiggy. Holding monster, holding person. Chain lightning. And... madness. Alright. Did I swap? Yeah, I swapped Karlak. Alright, leave camp.
We all good now?
We're all good now.
At least the ash can be repurposed. Some of it, at least.
Zach is all.
Breathe deep and move.
An intruder! These people are under my protection. I'll not let you harm them. Hearken to
what
my
is
words,
up with the
wicked
weird
creature.
dragonborn without
Return to the
things
pit
on
of
him?
evil from whence you came.
He's.
I will eat your souls. Rah!
I'm Code Yoshi.
Don't listen.
Look at him. He looks like a. What is? That's not a dragonborn.
Quickly, cleric.
Helm, protector of all, grant me the power to ignite this creature's flesh and burn its bones to ash. Begone, monster. Your hag mother holds no power here.
A hag is that?
Friendship again.
Guidance. Now, like, short of you rolling a 2. There we go. Chain of Memories. Oh, so you didn't go through Chain of Memories again, did you, laddie?
Wait! Clyde smells no lie.
Then you speak truth. You fought a hag before.
Wait, did the hag
Please,
survive
everyone.
in ours, or did we kill
We
her?
may have found ourselves.
I'm not sure.
No, she survived.
the
She like
paranoia.
ripped her scalp or something, so we
We're
could
being
increase my
hunted
dexterity.
by a vile and wicked hag. We feared you, her minion. She's already hexed one of us, and any of us could be next.
You've pissed off a hag, you're screwed. Let's be real, like, we pissed off a hag one time, and
Because we dared
there wasn't
to do the
like
impossible.
we had like
We
one
dared
hag
to
to deal
fight
with, and it was a
back.
pain and a half.
You see, all of us here have fallen victim to a hag's vicious ways. But instead of succumbing to despair, we rose above it. Thanks to Mayrina, our leader. Together,
Mayrina? That's the girl that...
who've suffered at the claws of a hag. Only, Mayrina's been hexed by the very hag who now hunts us.
Wait, is Mayrina the one with the husband?
Yeah.
She was kept.
You're the one that saved her. The one that ventured to the depths of Ethel's lair. I can hardly believe it. You look so... normal. By Helm, perhaps there is hope.
Compared to this, I'm
If
sorry,
anyone
but
can
I
help
need to
Mayrina,
raise
it's
concern
you.
about this dragonborn on the left
She's
here.
upstairs. But
Like,
be warned.
you see it, right? You see it.
She's not as you remember her.
I don't know. It looks snake-like, but the jawline just fucking astounds me.
Okay, let's find Marina.
Road, as I remember. Had to
Marina's a sheep.
Never again.
Are you sure?
Never again. Until next time.
Also, where's...
Damn it!
Doll! Find the doll!
Oh, there's a doll over here.
Hang on a second. I'm trying to find. There she is. There's Arja. Let me just. Karlach just gonna talk to her really quickly.
Oh! Forgive the mess.
Okay, it moved.
If you come inside, we could. Yes!
What if we destroyed the doll?
I would not destroy the doll. Give me a minute.
Alright, I'll wait for you.
Ah! And now that you're here, well, yes. Formulate. Oh.
Alright, time to have Karlach blow up.
Observe. Hopefully, Orage will... Dink. Drink?
I think you need to...
Oh my, this is incredible. I'm seeing. I type.
There we go.
All it needs is a certainly not. Now, I'll only ask a nominal. You really
Nice.
are a fine
Alrighty,
collaborator.
Flight. She's got like a lot of dyes. Potion. Ooh, what's eye bite? And then I'll get you that. And alright, cool.
Until next time.
Can't give up now.
Alrighty, so you're all the way over. Oh, Jesus. You've gone far.
No, I haven't. I'm gonna try touching the voodoo doll again.
Not when the whole city's in danger.
Okay, it looks like it moved into the cabinet. Oh no, there it is.
I am trying to.
Strange looking doll.
Nope, I'm gonna blow this thing up.
Could you, like, not? Let me just quick save before you do. And also, where the fuck am me?
Well, plenty don't even have
Because I'm.
A strange looking doll.
Nope, immune to fire damage.
Don't want it. A strange looking doll.
Now wages even more.
Why is the door locked?
Wouldn't want that.
You gotta go around the back.
Can carry me.
You removed my hex. That's annoying. I wanted to play a little longer. Auntie likes her toys broken. She's not going to be
Okay,
happy.
so I was
I
right
had to
to
get
have a
my
bad vibe
hands
from him.
dirty.
Yeah.
They want to hurt Auntie. They have the book. I will die before I let anyone touch a hair on her head.
Too late. I got a huge clump. The heart charms you. You don't know what you're
Ha.
saying.
You have no idea how wrong you are. I have worshipped her for decades past, and will for decades more.
No, the red caps. Oh.
Oh, hey, look at this. Watch as she is about to... Ow. Gonna push him down the stairs. Damn it, I thought that would do more damage, but okay.
The Marina's taking a little bit of damage too.
Best be on my way.
What? How come?
Probably from her time as a sheep.
Oh.
May the gods take you first.
Stunned. And... there we go. So he's stunned for a turn. Now you get to do a cheap shot. He's only at 11 health. Yeah, looks like there isn't any other... Ooh, nice. Nice.
Serve this treacherous prick. That lying, thieving, scaly little shit. Thanks for knighting the bastard.
Forever has her eyes
That
like
makes
just
twice you've saved
watering with pain.
I'm starting to think you're my guardian angel.
Also, is that? Glad to see you again.
That's her husband behind her.
Did we give her her husband?
I've come a long way.
Yeah, you
since
did.
we last met. Decided I was sick and tired of feeling stupid.
I don't remember
Helpless.
reviving her husband.
So I decided I wasn't going to be a victim anymore. This group is made of survivors. People like me who've been hurt by hags. I brought them together to fight back. We tracked a hag to the city, but lost her trail. Right after she snatched a little girl.
Not good.
None. Her mother has no idea of what she's up against. Poor woman thinks the Fist will be able to help her. The moment I started investigating the missing girl, I felt the hag's eye on me. Next thing, I was sprouting wool and bleating up a storm. When someone tells you, day in, day out, that you'd be a useless mother, well, you start to believe it. Who knows what she's done to this woman? Look, I know you're busy with big-time heroics,
we got
but
time.
we need your help. A child's life is on the line, and her mother is the best lead we've got. Thank
There's
you.
no question about this kind of
With
stuff.
you at our side, that hag won't
Oh,
know
yeah.
what hit her. Check the safe in the back. I've done my homework on hags since we last tangled with Ethel. Take whatever you need. I know it by heart anyway.
Damn.
Laura was
good
knocking
work.
about Basilisk Gate at the Flaming Fist's headquarters. Good luck.
Alright, so we got a note. We got Ethel's layer key from the red cap. Potion of healing. And the note reads, "My darling, Auntie has sent you a little present. A hex toll. Just for Marina. Use it to scare her and her little cronies off. Or butcher them. I don't care. Just find that book. Or I'll rip out your lungs and feed them to your brothers. Lots of love, Auntie."
Oh god, it's Ethel again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Ethel again. They literally said Ethel. Staff of Interruption. Hey, it's got counterspell.
Not bad. Although I'm using the glaive for this build.
Connor Vinderbold. Let's see, will he say anything?
More we got out of them the last time. I don't see the chest with the book or anything in it.
Just a little longer. All right.
A gauntlet with a starring eyes. I was lost when I came to the city. A coward, a drunkard. I thought everything that made me worthy had been stripped away by the Anis Hag. And then Mayrina found me. She helped me remember the tenets I once fought for. Courage, honor, duty. She brought me back to Helm. She saved my life. Now my savior, my friend, is in pain. A hag hex. Oh, we just helped that. Okay, cool. Where's the safe?
See, that's what I've been trying to look for.
Said it was in the back, right?
Clint panics.
Maybe it's upstairs?
Oh no.
Oh, there's the safe.
Stay close.
It's a wall safe.
This is all my fault. Mayrina was hexed mere days after the Dragonborn joined us. Why didn't I see it?
They're liars and cheats by nature.
That's no excuse. I know what they're like. Yet still, I welcome the Dragonborn with open arms. Mayrina was right about you.
You found the safe?
Tear stained journal. It seems part diary, part scientific study. Detailed diagrams of hags, from green to anise to dune, fill the margins. The page is written in a harsh, sloppy scroll. Sentences are blurred by what looks like tears. Another day and she would have been safe, but we were too late. Too much for the mother. I found her swinging from the rafters this morning. Helm. Forgive me for not saving her. Forgive me for not saving the kid. Oh my god. Detailed instructions on how to make what the author calls Hagsbane. Ashes of dried fey flower create Hagsbane. Hunter's Guide to Hags.
Let me see.
All but the most arrogant of hags, from Night to Boya, know that death is a possibility. As such, they don't hesitate to bend the rules of the material plane to escape death's clutches, returning stronger than ever. To do this, hags use, of all things, the common and humble mushroom. By imbuing these spore-producing fungi with her essence, she can endlessly revive herself. Neither blade nor bow will do these fungi lasting harm. The very twisted magic that heals the hag defends them. Instead, fire is your enemy. Burn the mushrooms to ash, and your blade will strike the hag's heart's true. But a warning, Hunter. Even in death, a hag is dangerous. Be quick, be swift, and be deadly. Alright, so we now have like a hag's bane and what have you.
Okay, we need dry fey flower.
Yeah, I got that.
Were you able to craft it?
Hang on a second. It was an elixir, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Suspicious. Where is it? Where is it?
Might be a coating.
Fungal bamboozler. Hagsbane, there it is. So, any essence and ashes. Alright, so we just need any sort of essence.
Oh, I've got essence. Hang on, let me give it to you.
I've got all kinds of options. So I can use acorn truffles. I've got
my
5.
alchemy pouch.
I'll use this. I'll use swarming toadstool. I'll extract.
Well, just extract all ingredients.
No, I didn't want to like press extract all. Sorry.
Yeah, do extract all ingredients. It's the best way to get everything you need.
Dunk. There we go.
Right down the bottom.
Well, I got it. So, and we only have one of this Hagsbane.
Alright, we're dealing with both the hag and trying to look for this guy's corpse.
Yeah. So there's the Hagsbane. Hags have a special prediction for force a hag that has consumed a child to disgorge it instantly. Ah. Okay. So we got that. We still haven't found like the original, because we need to go to someone else's house. There should be like for some stuff. Let me look at the coordinates. Where are we going? Where did I go?
I'm just having a look. I'm down near the docks.
I ended up here. How did I? Oh my god. Hang on. Heading to Boulder's Gate. Alright, so the leg is -77 by 77 by 72. It doesn't really give us an option.
Crabs.
Alrighty, so...
When is it my turn?
Oh, I see where you are.
Hmm. Not that I can see anything down here, so I don't think it's really worth...
Yeah, so X is negative, so at 70, negative 77 and negative 72 is apparently where we need to go for the leg.
Negative 77, negative 72.
The map in the top right will give you X and Y coordinates of where you're looking. So...
Okay, negative 77.
So...
Negative 72.
So it should, so it's near the, where...
Come to think of it, Tamrin really didn't seem to
somewhere around here.
Neither did Burke or Corral.
Lavernia's home. There it is. Found it. I found the home.
Alright, hang on. Let me catch up to you first.
Yep. So, here.
Never saw when you left, though, did we? He could be propping up the bar in the elf side for all.
Alright, hold up. Let me just... I see the blue mailbox. I'm making my way over to you. I'm making my way downtown, walking fast, faces passing, I'm homebound.
Oh, there's a rat catcher here. One of your guys has gone missing.
No, Howson's...
I think it was like the...
yeah, the big elemental sometimes has to take the long way around.
Ugh, spiders.
Ooh!
Ugh.
Pets!
Duna Duckfin. Park Keeper's Chores.
Oh, I found a groundskeeper's hatch key.
Check for fallen branches and blocking paths, polish the benches, unlock the gates, clean the ponds. In the afternoon, rake leaves, pest patrol, repaint the signage, final rounds, and then lock up. Alright. Oh, there's a hatch. You're down there already, aren't you?
There's a lot of dead things down here.
Ooh.
Mind flayers.
Huh? Jesus. Broom Boy. Rogering. Court. Kingfish. Where the fuck are we?
The remains of an earth elemental.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I found a letter.
Just a random letter.
Effigy of Sendai, who made herself of many. What use her magnitude? She thought herself a warrior, but only her blood soaked the soil. Or in the red.
Oh, hey, there's someone.
This body. A sacrifice.
Clown's leg, giving it to you.
Oh, thank you. Hey, a +1 flail and a +1 iron branded shield.
I'll pick those up.
These are all drow. Jesus.
They are, actually. Longsword +1.
Okay.
Oh, the wooden chest, did you already...
Yeah, I did.
They must have been performing some sort of ritual down here when the cult
Came in, possibly.
dropped in on... Yeah.
So... Alright, so we got the foot. Alright, so... Okay, so we got the leg, sorry. The foot is found on a body in the basement of the rainforest house near the Blushing Mermaid.
Alright, Blushing Mermaid.
Coordinates are -93, -10.
-93, -10.
-110, sorry. So, -93, -110. So, it's just down here. Or down here.
Fourth for me. City's going to shit.
God damn, scrolling as fuck.
What was the name of the place? Rainforest Homes. There they are.
On a
This
body
is the
in the
private
basement.
abode of Alexander Rainforest. Friends make appointments. Clients respect office hours.
Doors are locked. I'm wondering.
Do you want me to handle it while no one's looking?
Hang on. Might be able to.
You got a spell. Careful, Steel Watch. Yeah, he's got a fence.
Can't blame them, I suppose. They've got armies to deal with.
Breathe quiet. It's that no politician ever went down in...
This guard caught you picking a lock. Perhaps you'd like to try the lock of your very own set. The benefit of the doubt can only be bought so many times.
You ended up in prison, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I bribed. I'm fine, see? Look, I'm still here.
Hang on. Stay right there.
Oh.
Actually, don't stay right.
You failed a perception check, by the by.
This is the third fountain I've tried.
A shame you can't, like, climb the... what's-in-a-hoozy, the drain pipe. Hello?
I mean, you could try.
Oh, I have an idea.
I can just unlock the door for you.
Did you pass the check?
Yes.
If common sense...
Whoa. Don't come in yet.
No one fixes anything unless it hurts them.
She doesn't like the fire elementals.
Alright, well, the door opened on its own, so you can come in.
Nice.
What's that?
A blood-stained parchment. A messy splattering of deep red-brown adorned this scrap of parchment. Those wishing to face the Dread Lord's tribunal and enter the Temple of Baal must slay the targets on this list and frame the corpses as a murder by the cult of the Absolute.
Hello. Ooh, are you the new cheese dropper? I do hope so. I'm almost down to the last crumbs.
Rat.
Alexander was his name. He dropped all manner of morsels, but the...
Until the Red Man visited. Interesting. Duke Baleem Stelman, killed. Father Logan, killed. Dribbles the Clown, killed. Alexander Rainforest, killed. Frank Peartree, killed. Cora Highberry, Figaro, Chef, Nessa, Vari, and Fridlick. Alright.
This is a ritual killing.
Oh.
And the murderer.
Be mindful, there's a lot of traps. Excuse me while I disarm some of these.
Oh, I found Alexander.
Who did I find?
I have no idea, and I'm coming down to join you.
Winslow. KRB, and a potion of feather falling.
Try not to do anything too dumb until I get there.
The time-bitten parchment on the scroll flakes and frays, obscuring most of its content. It appears to describe the process for breaking an enchantment that has bound a mighty dragon into another service.
That could be very useful.
A foot smeared with paint, among other things.
The effigy of Abizail, who soared on shredded wings. What use his pride? He thought himself a dragon, but died as a worm. Or in the red. She's just signing like every single one of her murders as or in the red. Observation notes.
What do you reckon this guy's got something to do with Gortash?
Quite highly. A note detailing ownership details on Kunda Hollow's tombstones. As existed as Kunda Hollow's funeral arrangement for generations. Attempted rebranding after Lenina took over to Kunda Hollow tombstones. Rebranded to focus on our core values. Getting... What'd you break?
Fire elemental set off the trap.
Cool. Cool.
Yay!
Tombstone shop notes and a dagger. Ooh, scratch it. Let's see what's...
Found an amethyst and some gold.
Oh, I failed a perception check here.
And the murderer wanted it found. Be wary. This place is trapped.
I'll let you go in first. I'll wait here.
Trap. Be cautious.
One moment, please.
We're gonna need to rest soon. I think we're running out of spell points and everything.
Yeah. Give me a few, give me a few, give me a few. Once we, like, I feel like we've done through, like, a lot of the combat in the lower city, thankfully, so it's just a case of getting through some of the dialogue stuff.
Yeah.
Rainforest chest key. A great sword, a spear, something in the pouch. Remedial potion to cure blinded, silenced, paralyzed, and poisoned creatures. Nice.
Always helpful.
Alright, grab the chest key. I wonder what happens when you light the iron torch. Oh, okay. Thought something cool was gonna happen, but okay.
The candelabra.
The candelabra. Alright, was there like a locked chest here or something?
I opened up the safe. That might have been what the key was for.
It was on the other side of this wall. Hi there, Benru. Who's Timon and Pumbaa? Am I Timon in this analogy and Code's Pumbaa?
That depends. Which one of us is smarter? Which one's a smelly pig?
I'm the smart one. I'm the skinny meerkat, I would feel, between the two of us. Alright, well, the good news is we found the foot. All that's missing is the head, which is... Oh. It's in the Temple of Baal.
So we'll need to do that in a bit.
Yeah, alright, let's find where...
Alright, I think...
Enter... Yeah, so Kunda Hollow's tomb. So we found a note in the Killer Dolar's pocket, instructing him to enter in the tombstones with the passphrase. Seems the Balal cultist will be there.
Alright, I think first things first, we need to have a long rest before we do anything else.
So yeah, we also need to speak to Laura at Basilisk's Gate. So I'm gonna...
Well, let's do a long rest first.
Well, I think getting information is probably our best bet. So...
Alright, Basilisk Gate. That is...
Oh, look at this. Look at this girl. Just...
Don't distract me. It's all I can do to stay balanced.
A valuable discipline for a guard. Center yourself on nothingness.
Tempest, help me. A monk. Could you please take a vow of silence until I'm done here?
Is he missing a leg?
No, he's just balancing himself, see?
Ah.
Alright, so Rura Thamat. Okay, so they're inside from the looks of it. Manip. Laura! There she is.
How many times do I need to say it?
You sent word about a lead. Said that I should come see you about it.
Of course, madam. Let me just... Forgive me. Why are you here?
Is this some kind of sick joke? Do you have any idea what I've been through these past few days?
She's not having a great time. Yeah, Benru says I'm Timon. Yay. You're Laura, right?
Her name is Vanra. This stupid, useless fist said she had a lead, but she must have been sucking Dream Mist or something.
Madam, tell me. You said... she was... taken from a tavern?
You catch the barest tendrils of magic coiled around the flaming fist.
Yes, the blushing mermaid down by the docks. I told you 100 times. Why aren't you listening?
Oh, shit.
Better hope you pass it.
Yep. That is not a pass. That is not a pass. Hang on a second. One more time. Hey, there we go. That's a lot better. And it only took one inspiration.
Someone or something has tampered with her memory.
What were we discussing?
What is happening? I feel like I'm going mad.
Someone has tampered with the Flaming Fist's memory.
A hag?
Perhaps a hag.
Preposterous. No such creature would dare set foot in the city.
Don't scare me more than I already am. What would a hag want with my Vanra? She's just lost. That's all. Odds.
Laura's the hag, isn't she?
And
Something's not right with like listening.
Been looking night and day everywhere I could. I've no family, and Vanra's father isn't around. A flaming fist were my last resort.
I'll help you find your daughter.
You will? Thank you. I haven't slept or eaten since she disappeared. I'm terrified something.
Why are you throwing noises at me? I'm trying to be in detective mode.
She's 7 years old.
Oh.
And has red hair, like me. We were in the Blushing Mermaid when she was taken. Just up by the docks.
Was anyone else with you?
No. Unless you count a couple of old drinking mates at the next table. But they'd be no help. They barely remember their own names. I was sober, though. I swear. I stop in the maid for a drink sometimes. But it was only a quick one.
Uh-huh. What do you reckon she made a drunken deal with the hag without meaning to it?
Maybe.
And the owner of the Blushing Mermaid, Captain Grizzly. Neither lifted a finger to help me look. It was awful.
I'll head to the Blushing Maid.
Thank you. I'll head home. Can't stand being around these idiots any longer. Come find me the moment you hear anything.
Alright, so.
Blushing Mermaid, that was down near the docks, wasn't it? I see it.
Yeah. So we want to get to the lower city wall thing, and then we can like make a run for it. It's a shame there wasn't any like thingy-madiggy for
you just gotta find that's Sorcerer's Sundries. I really wish they would let you go further down. Down this way.
You want to be going south.
That's what I'm trying to do.
It's a really long way to pick south.
God damn it took me in the wrong direction.
Hey, look, a druid. You might want to talk to this one.
All right. Wait. Wait there. I'm on my way. Don't you dare do something that'll make Daddy happy with you. I will end you.
All right, you go have your conversation and try and get Daddy's approval.
Daddy!
Hey, look, Heapside Strand. We now have a...
Behold, Vaemneri. This tree is plagued.
Hey, he's the same sort of,
It will not
druid
die.
as Halsin as well.
I believe Shauntia wishes me to save it.
That's all that I got out of him.
Oh.
Hang on, let me actually talk to him with Halsin.
Flower and bloom as I know you. Behold, this tree.
Nope, nothing.
No, what a shame.
How dare you get... We've gone the wrong way.
Yeah, we have gone the wrong way, I realize.
Oh, hang on, go to Baldur's Gate from there.
Here we go. Zeebs has no belly to blow raspberries on. Code, on the other hand, Code's belly can be used to summon the Nephilim.
Hey! But also, yes.
It's funny because as it's like partially true. Just make the fattest raspberries you can.
Something like that is what you'd get.
Alright, so that's the mermaid. Everyone's drunk here, apparently. Oh, wasn't Nesha Lesha someone that was like...
While I requested an interview, Captain
My friend dared me to come here alone for a couple of mugs of ale. So here I am.
Terrible idea, woman. Absolutely abysmal idea.
I may just get out of here.
Let's see, who was it we're meant to talk to? Venra, she's down one more floor.
No pissing or shitting. If you break it, you pay for it. Any fighting and Captain Grizzly will shank you. Got it?
I'll follow the rules.
Good. Welcome to the Blushing Mermaid.
Only a couple of hundred.
If you're here to complain that the booze tastes like
I'm
piss,
here about the
my
missing
God's
girl.
above. Not again. You pull a knife on me like the last one and you're getting a boot, you hear?
Who pulled a knife on you?
That woman, Lara, Laura, whatever her bloody name is. She was screaming her head off about some kid. Tore the place apart. Bloody disturbing. Captain Grizzly had to clock her in the end. Threw her out on her arse. Good riddance.
Uh-huh. Weird. So, is it maybe it's a thing where if you hadn't interacted with the hag, you, like, can't remember, Laura.
Bosun would be grumpy.
Captain Grizzly. Look over here. Sister of the Seeing Pearl.
Can't a captain be bloody hungover in peace? Oh. Why, hello there. Captain Grizzly at your service. What can I do for a long drink of water like yourself?
The fact that we have to deal with both hags and shapeshifters makes every interaction like this one make me stand on edge.
Oh, not this claptrap again.
Well, at least she's not
Laura
just
was here,
gonna help
all
us,
right?
like...
Knocking back pints like there's no tomorrow. But she was alone. I saw head nor ass of this so-called kid, and when we tried to kick her out, she pulled a knife on my front man. Bet she didn't tell you that bit, huh?
If Laura's daughter isn't here, where is she?
Not a notion. But not a soul has seen this so-called Vanna of hers, myself included. Look, I know Laura from my pirating days. She ran with Bart Blackdagger's crew.
Heard they tossed her overboard when she gutted the bosun over a game of cards. Now, I'd no beef with her before this. All are welcome in the maid. Threatening my staff, claiming we took her kid. She's bonkers. Dangerous. Next time she pulls a knife on me and mine, someone might die. Something has to be done.
The child is missing. I just want to get to the bottom of this.
Gods! Do I have to spell it out for you? There is no child. Laura is mad as a box of frogs. She's dangerous. And I couldn't call myself a captain if I stood by and did nothing.
I reckon the captain's the hag.
Come to this. But I'll pay a hoard of gold to whoever scuppers her. Permanently.
That's insane.
No less insane than lying about having a kid. If you don't do it, I'll find someone else. You can make it painless. Not everyone will.
No, she's the hag.
Yeah, absolutely not. I refuse to do your dirty work.
You're no fun.
There it is.
I wanted you to stain your soul with the blood of an innocent mother.
Oh, well. Guess I'll just decorate the room with your insides. They'll match my new carpet beautifully.
They wanted to kill the mother. That seemed a little too suspect.
Yeah, especially how quickly she did it. Alrighty. So she's just turning into the hag now? Yeah, she's just turning into the hag now.
Oh, she's eating the child. Look, her belly.
Oh, yeah! It's... Alright, hang on. Oh, yeah, look at that. Hag's pregnancy.
Hello, Petal. Miss me?
Not particularly. I let you go once already, hag. Don't... The hells are you doing here?
Mayrina ran off with the child I was promised. Because of you. So I had to find myself a new one. And the liver was so very tasty. I'm already showing. Doesn't it suit me so well?
Absolutely not.
Venra sits in my belly, growing fat with power. In time, I'll vomit her up and have myself a fresh young hag to train.
I wonder
Also, hello, Kiryu. How you doing?
I really wish I could just, like, throw the bottle I have right now.
In a pickle. For while I'd love to rip your guts out, I shouldn't. Exertion is bad for the baby, you know. So, walk away. Walk away and let me a fine hag make.
No. Surrender the do you want to make a better offer, or no, surrender the child immediately?
Nope, surrender the child.
Surrender the child immediately! Hey, look at that, Halcyon approves.
Kill me, touch me, and the girl dies. And I'll simply return, stronger than ever. A woman in my condition should be relaxing in the bath, not dealing with this nonsense. I'll leave you to my crew, matey. And should you somehow survive, stay away, or Vanra will suffer.
Okay, so she disappears. Oh, we got all these red caps to deal with. What joy.
Fucking fun.
These boots have seen everything.
Oh, is it true that this is how you got too big? You just ate all the cute furs every meet you went to?
Who knows?
I'm not gonna say yes, I'm not gonna say no.
Alright, Halson and so Flaming Pete. If you can stun him, then your Woad and your Dyad can do other things. Alright, so we now know where the hag is. We just need to somehow get her to drink the potion to regurgitate the child. Excuse me.
That's easier said than done.
There. Flaming Pete gonna get hit by a flaming Azer. Bad kick.
That was annoying.
Alright, so Maggoty Jim and Two Toes Richard. Blender Bob.
It's time for a widdly wee!
Widdly wee!
Shillelagh!
Hey, nice! That was a good hit. Alrighty, Maggoty Jim. Is he really gonna try and kick?
He just knocked over Karlach.
The audacity. Well, the other thing is that there's all this unstable blood, so it's gonna be a very fun time. Oh, I wonder what will we possibly do. Oh, I thought there would be a third hit then. Alright, so he gets
I'm hoping for a third hit.
I want them.
Alright, so that does Bloodlust. Alright, and you got... Alright, who's the weakest of them? Bert the Weasel looks it at 34 health. So... Oh no, Flaming Pete as well at 36. So... But it does get your, mud method away. Hi there, Freckles! Welcome to the stream! I'm a little bit bigger because of getting hyper himboed, and then, you know, people, like, went beyond and such, so...
How you doing, Freckles?
Shut up. Freckles is cool. Freckles does some good.
Freckles is cool. They're a cool bean.
Alright, where am I? What am I doing? Oh, yeah. Hitting you. Go.
Well, there's another dead one.
Alright, and then... Oh yeah, I should probably rage. Oh,
Might
there
be
was
a good
no
idea.
roar. There's no roar with the rage. Gosh darn it. Hey, nice. The floor's on fire. So, tell you how my Act 3 is going. I just got raptured by an elf woman. Is that a euphemism, Shibore? Getting
It seems like a
raptured?
euphemism.
It sounds like a euphemism.
Feels very euthanism-y.
Yeah. Ooh, Maggoty Jim is like 4 health away. Look at him. Barely alive.
I'm a widdly wee with my shillelagh.
Nice. Absolute dead. And look, you now have your other NPCs to help with flame and... Hey, they're all dead. Nice.
Again. I was hoping she'd found some remote bog to rot in.
Obviously not. Although it is very hilarious that she thought she'd be safe in Baldur's Gate when everyone is going there. Whispering Mass. Ooh, Bert.
Transformed at Arnie Ethel and admitted she is alive. She intends to transform. She fled, but not before claiming, if we kill her, we'll kill Venra too. So, fuck.
Well,
now we gotta find Auntie Ethel.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. I'll need to rest soon.
Alright, do we want to rest now then? And then... Because I
Probably
imagine...
a good idea.
So yeah, because it looks like there's a... Like, downstairs there's a door we can open or something. Yeah, there's like an iron... There's like an oak door here we can go through, so...
I'm guessing that's gonna be where Auntie Ethel's hiding.
So yeah, let's do a long rest. You saved her from customers who turned into a mind flayer, then she would explain how she was turned on by said mind flayer. Oh. Yeah, I don't know why people like...
Oh!
What? Oh, hey, Yugiri!
Nice place you have here, little rabbit. Could use a few more trophies, perhaps. I'll keep this short or my absence will be noted. You need the Orphic Hammer.
Yep.
And I know where you need to look. The House of Hope. Our mutual friend, Raphael's abode. There's a Diabolist named Halsik in the lower city. Find her, and she'll take it from there.
Ooh, okay.
I love it.
Oh, I was gonna say something else.
Keep things sporting. Besides, you freed me from the tune.
Aw.
Forget I was ever here, but remember what I said. See you around.
Thank you, Benru, as well, for being my #1 fan. Absolutely.
I'd let him do me.
Hmm?
Oh, looks like Gale's got something to say too.
Probably that he wants to go to the sorcerer's shop. He just.
I'll
wants
have
to...
a look. I'll talk to him.
Oh, okay. You wanna try and get some like points of. Oop. What's happened? Why is it empty? Oh, Benru thought you were talking biggest in every way. 100 kilograms of pure New Zealand beef. Hi there, Sky!
Before anyone else does.
That's it? That's all he wanted to talk about? Wow, what a waste.
Yep.
Alright, where's my bed? I want to go to sleep.
I don't see anybody else here asking for anything.
Where's my bed? There's my bed. Go to bed. We're going to bed. I've been fairly good, Skyline. Excuse me. Right now I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 with Code because this is our, like, D&D night.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are looking into changing that to a different day because you mentioned work was doing some other nonsense with the Friday nights and such, and that Thursdays might be better.
Yeah, because at the moment because I'm only part-time, work is giving me Fridays at the moment to cover the weekends.
Mm-hmm. Oh hey, it's the Emperor thingy-majiggy. And Shibore, is Gale? Gale is your hubby? Gale is your love interest?
It's you. I must have let my mind wander. Enough for you to wander in.
Oh, I wonder if this is a point where we might be able to honky-bonky the older brain.
I am not
this guy.
I am not honky-bonky the hentai.
His Netherstone. The Chosen's control of the brain has been brittle. It's rebelling against Orin and Gortash fiercely. I suspected that when we took Ketheric's stone, the brain would begin to break free. Those brain quakes confirm that my suspicion was correct. I do not know what happens now when it receives their orders, and I do not dare guess.
You feel the Emperor's fear as if it were your own. And
beautiful, isn't it? The mighty Prince Orpheus, contained in submissive slumber. Come. You may as well sit a while.
Why did you sit down?
Your company isn't unwelcome.
I just want a dreamless sleep for a while.
I apologize.
Kiryu did the Emperor.
With my woes.
Kiryu!
You have enough to worry about.
as your eyes
I mean,
shut, you fall into the...
I wouldn't mind a little bit of that hentai, if you know what I'm talking about.
I'm not interested. I thought when we made like our Dream Guardian that the Dream Guardian would continue having the Dream Guardian, and I put a lot of work in my Dream Guardian looking sexy and strong. She was everything I wanted. And then it just turned out to be a tentacly Squidward. Some of your companions remain deep in dreamful sleep and can't awaken yet. You can observe other members' dreams if they allow it.
I mean, you could probably do,
Far from it.
Looking online, I think. Oh yeah.
Yep. Look at code. Look at this scaly, ready to do the dirty with the slimy.
She was my business partner. Back when we ran the Knights of the Shield. A difficult task for a mind flayer. Duke Stelmane trusted me, and the city trusted her. I conceived the plot, but Berlin took center stage. It was she who met with the merchants, politicians, and patriarchs. It was she who negotiated deals and signed off on agreements. Her rooms played host to the most important conversations in the city. Together, we brought order to chaos. At its height, everything that happened in that city went through the shield. Through us. I could not have done any of it without her. Just as I cannot do any of this without you. But now, she is gone.
Do you need another hug?
Astute as ever. You
Am I
think that
bisexual?
mind
No, I don't
flayers
think
are
I'm
soulless
bisexual.
husks who feel nothing.
Like,
Berlin thought the same.
I remember like a year or two ago, this like came into
Feeling
question.
is vital
It was
to
a
the
case
pursuit
of
of
like,
any
oh, here's a
goals.
GrantZeebs.
Even
And like, there's like this obvious Venn diagram of like Bara characters like in the furry like circles and stuff like that are conceived as the desires of men because they desire men or something rather. But I didn't have that. I just had a really dumb idea of like,
is and always has
ladies like Bara.
Berlin
That is true, but it meant that way more men were just going after me for the bar appearance and such, and it was just like, eh. Nah, I ain't no boy kisser, as the meme says. Like, years ago, I like tried or something, like, not to like a deep level or anything like that, but like there was just an opportunity, and it was just like, it didn't feel right, honestly.
I need to
focus. Didn't sit with me. So, very.
I mean, you know, I probably would bonk the Emperor, but my heart is with Halcyon at the moment.
Yeah, so I can appreciate, like, you know, good art and what have you of like male body and such like that. It's like it's always that case of like, yeah, this looks good and shit like that. But beyond that, not really. Nothing further than that. I'm very much a titties sort of man.
Titties.
Titties.
Titties and beer.
Where'd that go? Who gave that one? The titties and beer.
That was something a lot of my friends in high school used to do, like the titties and beer.
Titties and beer.
Scratch's tail wags enthusiastically.
We're gonna pet the dog. He vented about this multiple times, plus if you saw his Twitter, it's all ladies when it comes to not safe for work,
wagging even faster.
Yeah, unless it's myself. So.
I can speak with animals.
So yeah, it's always a weirdy thingy-majiggy when, like, because there are some dudes who will, like, approach me and, like, flirt, but the thing is that they're, like, if they do, like, just, you know, a level of light flirting that you would do in real life, I am oblivious to a lot of it because of the tism. But if it's, like, furry flirting, which I feel like is overt, and they don't know how to, like, either moderate or do the continuation. It's just a case of reach over and grab your crotch, nice cock, and then they just don't know where to go from there if that's successful or something or other.
The only thing I think of when it comes to that is that that meme with the scout from TF2, you know, Ooh woo. Notices your bulgy what? Yeah, that sort of thing.
What in the name are you doing? Back off, you crazy bitch! Please give me huggy wuggies. I shared that in the memes recently because apparently that's like 7 years old now, and I just love how it's like from a shit post of a manga panel or something.
Hang on. Where is it?
Let me double check. It's in my like
Memes?
it's either in memes or it's in clips and videos. It's in one of those two.
I'm just having to look through memes. A lot of people posting a lot of things in your memes.
Sir Dragon is posting quite a bit. Yes, and some of it hits, some of it misses.
There it is. Found it.
You found it?
Yep.
Yeah, here it is. Like it's from Italian something or other. So let me just post it in my thingy-madiggy. So it's just so good. It's just like what in the world? And it's like he's just like back off, you crazy bitch.
I think you all heard it from my Discord thing, but yeah.
So it's so great.
Hello Ginger, how you doing? I'm gonna give you a shout out.
I had a random fur message you on Instagram. It was straight away a sticker of a Twinkie canine doing bad things to themselves. Had not blocked any faster. Yeah.
Oh god.
The internet, like, the block button is such a useful thing, and it's unfortunate that the language of, like, the usage of the block button is a bit weird. Like, it feels very, like, saddies if someone blocks
Daddy's
you
got something to say
you...
to me. Daddy, talk to me.
Where is he?
I had hoped there might be a greater sense of balance within the city. That its walls might enable sheltering within it to foster community, peace. Yet it is not so. Unnatural steel beings patrol the streets. The printed word sows discontent, and those in need are treated with disdain. Is this truly what progress looks like? Sometimes it is difficult to see exactly what we are fighting to save here. Sometimes it feels like Korga was right. Nature can only survive away from all this.
Something I worry about is trying to come across as too horny around other guys and feeling bad if I take my words too far. Yeah, it's... I feel like that comes with... Like, the unfortunate thing with, like, socializing and figuring out the balance and such is that just comes with experience and practice.
But at times like this, it can feel like an impossible dream.
I cannot give you a definitive answer of, like, the best way to do it, which is weird and such. It took me a long while.
The decisions I made.
To, like, with additional training and what have you, of, like, you know, how to communicate with people, how to understand the empathy I'm feeling, and like what kind of emotions might they be projecting from what they're not saying and acting and what have you. So yeah, and it's annoying that socializing is one of those things where
it's clear not everything you find is at your disposal.
You tried picking something up, didn't you? You tried.
I might have tried opening a chest.
You tried being sticky fingers.
I might have tried a little stickiness in me fingers. Yeah, I might try a little bit. Might have tried a little bit. Maybe have me fingers a little bit. Oh, right, we're going down in here, aren't we? Okay, hang on.
I'm trying to move things around. I see it as very much like if you wouldn't walk up to a random person, grab their crotch, or don't start a convo. Yeah, no. But yeah, it goes back to the original thing where I feel like one of the things that the furry community doesn't really do too well, unless you're talking to like the older furry community. You went through the door, didn't you?
Yeah, the cellar door. Where are you?
The oak door?
No, the cellar door. You gotta go up around.
There's an oak door. You're right there.
Oh.
Alright, so jump here. Alright, something up here. Let me just F5 that real quick in case. So yeah, so with the furry community, it's like, it's only when you're communicating with, like, say, older furs, I feel. You already were up here, weren't you?
No, I didn't get any rolls.
You sure?
Yeah. I mean, I just walked through the wall anyway.
Oh, okay.
must be.
How did you...
Go up, and you can actually walk through the wall on your left when you get up there.
Okay.
So go here.
Yeah, one moment. Sorry, it's just saying my path is interrupted, so...
Because Karlak's in the way.
Yeah, and then donk. And then donk.
I just walked through.
Yep, there we go. Now I've... Oh, and then I can take a ladder. And then there's a chest here. With some gold. But yeah, where was I in my training of thought? Oh yeah, unless you're talking to the older audience or content creators, I feel like in the furry community, social...
I found traps.
Why do you make this so difficult for me?
Because it's fun.
When it comes to the furry community, unless it's the older audience or the content creators who have to, like, you know, approach many people in a business sense, furry community friendships do not do the social contract like etiquette of, like, you know, catching you when you might be doing a misdemeanor so it doesn't like escalate into like breaking the camel's back kind of problems in society, or worse comes to worse, doing some illegal questionable shit. They don't do that very often. They're very much just a case of, we don't want to, you know, correct anyone while they're communicating in here and such like that, and we're not really interested in nuanced conversations like an actual exploration of sexuality and what have you, rather than just, you know, oh, let's take a BuzzFeed quiz and see who in your Meyer-Briggs personality you get.
Oh, says the guy that just set off a fucking trap.
Give me a minute, let me get rid of this flower. So, gotta get to drawing and have you in the background. I would love another... I'm actually saving money again. What the hell? Why are we in a fight?
One of them saw us.
Let's kill it. Kill it and stuff it. For Auntie.
Alright, let me just get rid of this. Oh, look at that, more flowers.
Let's slit this man head to heel.
Oh, the original Captain Grizzly.
Huh? Mask of Vengeance. Alright, let me just get rid of it. There we go. And then... Oop. Excuse me while I just go... Jump. Either way, I understand that being horny at times is okay, but I prefer to be more known as a kind person. Yeah, no, exactly. It's all about, like, time and place sort of stuff. Go. Absolutely doesn't.
Exactly. Like, I don't mind if my chat says a few lewd things from time to time, but it's time and place and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all like, whenever I'm talking to House, and it's daddy, 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 daddy. So that's, you know, that's time and place, because, you know.
Yeah. And the only way you can kind of figure these sorts of things out is when it comes to, you know, actually practicing the social situations with, like, either closer friends, and then slowly, as you gain more skills, you're able to practice it in a wider audience and such, to a point where, you know, for example, Lesser Conjurer, or a lot of the artists that do Discord streams and what have you, they can do it with perfect strangers. They know the balance. They can kind of pick up on how you communicate and what you're okay and what you're not okay with, to know when they want to do a like a lewd joke, or if they want to, you know, make a, like, if it was spoken in, like, you know, completely unfamiliar audiences of, like...
Hang on, what's he casting? I didn't see what he was casting.
Curse of Terror. They become frightened. They take...
Yeah, let's counterspell that.
Yeah. So, I do find it something funny that furs won't have that deep and meaningful combos that are always worth having. First cast
Ow, you bastard!
Yeah. Ben, you're on the right thing. Like, the whole point... Did she seriously not get... I thought it was because of the fact I dealt damage that... Oh, no, the Master Vengeance is suicide. Okay. Yeah. That's my issue, is just... The social contract of, like, oh, as a fandom, close friends and friends, like, they should be welcome to do, you know... They're able to communicate with you and give you a little bit of teaching into, like, hey, this is okay to say, this is not okay to say, and such. And they're able to do it on, like, the smaller infractions, and what have you. So then that way you're not, you learn from it, so you're not at risk at making the larger infractions. So, Alright, let's see if I can get Mask of Vengeance here. There we go.
Still breathing, despite everything.
Ow! Fuck you.
Ooh, that hurt you.
There we go. And then... I'm gonna move over to Captain Grizzly over here so she gets disadvantage. And she's an idiot and decides to run away. Hi there, Atomica. So yeah. So yeah, because I think that's currently my biggest issue, is just like way too many times when I see like the furry fandom sort of not handle a controversy or what have you. It's always a case of we are kicking this person out of the fandom and denouncing the terrible takes they're having, and it's like it's always like blown out of proportion and such. And I feel like there's always this case of how can the furry community handle this? And it's like they don't. They just.
I wonder what a Zeebs body pillow would feel like. Or a life-size plushie Zeebs.
Someone has actually made like life-size plushies. They've done like a chubby, muscular wolf. I'll need to find out on my timeline.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool. Yeah, there he is doing that. Almost dead.
Can't even catch my breath.
All right. Not tempting, but no. All right, so.
You've made a great mistake.
I'm gonna get Captain.
Yeah. I gotta be smart with all of Halsin's spell points.
Yeah. Oh, god damn it. I should have stunned her again. Curse of Regret. How many more counter spells do you have? Because I would save them for Anti-Ethel.
Yeah, I'm gonna save the rest of them for Anti-Ethel.
Sounds good. Let's see, so it's you, the Dryad, 6 health.
It's also why I'm saving my big spells for Anti-Ethel as well.
Yep. Alright, so there's just 6 points on the captain over here. Who's currently threatened and has... Oh, is he summoned you?
No, I summoned the Woodwode.
Ah, okay. They do nothing to prevent it. In fact, from my own experience, they thrive on drama. They would rather be the person pushing you off the cliff than stopping you. I don't know about that. I don't know about, you know, engaging with the drama. I think there's a bit of an unhealthy reaction sometimes to the drama, because the thing that pops into my pops up onto my feed quite a bit is sometimes people just are confrontational, and they think that confrontation is the good way of, like, you know, policing or what have you, which, you know, anyone in the United States who looks at the actual police will tell you violence is not a great policing method, and we absolutely don't like it. So what's up?
The Mask of Vengeance here, the big guy. Read the message.
Soft, unintelligible whispering seep from the dark wood. Oh, you mean the...
Read the letter.
You've been a silly thing, sweetie. Did I not harm you? Did I not tell you death was coming, for wife and child both, but you didn't listen? And now the love of your life is rotting in the ground. I can't save her, but your babe, your sweet little babe, who is the image of her, I can save him, if you're willing to pay the price. Okay, so these are all peeps that have all, like... What's the
I thought for a second that might have been Venra's father.
Nah.
Salty Scimitar.
Ooh, toy block.
Gives the ability Command.
Sorry, I just want to, like, still touch upon, like, the furry thing. It's like, I feel like, because it comes from, and the thing is, it comes from, like, not just small furries as well, thinking confrontation. It comes from some of the larger ones as well.
Watching me.
Like, some of them do they do the responsible thing a lot of the time of, like, actually blocking and, you know, just choosing, like, it's better not to engage and bring into question, like, how...
This is where the hag must be.
How it all came about or something or other. But I still see it from the very same people where they
Step carefully.
they think they're bringing awareness and such, but it devolves down to just, I don't know, showmanship of like, oh, look at this person being an absolute dick, and me being able to, you know, correct them, or, oh, hey, asshole, you're not being fun. And it's like, look, there's no point in, you know, having to do the quote retreat of, hey, asshole, you're not being fun or anything like that. Or, yeah. Ah, thanks for taking the key. So.
Where you at, Ethel? You can't hide from us.
Oh, the big tough hero finally showed up.
Okay,
I
her
told
belly
you,
is so
Pepper,
flat, so
you
she
can't
hasn't,
hurt
like,
me without killing little Vanra. I have you beat, so do the heroic thing. Die.
Okay.
If we get it down to, I think if we get it down low enough, we might be able to get it to do the. We also gotta take care of those spores,
Bane,
remember?
Yeah, so with Hag's Bane, we should be able to have her vomit them up or something.
Yeah, but the thing is, we've got to get her to take it. That's the problem. Take care of those spores.
Hang on a
The
second.
pearl spore bell.
Give me a second. Where's my...
I see one there. I see one over here. And one over there.
Oh, What?
Time to press ahead.
Why won't it...
We need her to ingest it.
Yeah, but it's like, it says force. Why won't you... Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're probably gonna need to weaken her enough in order to make her ingest it.
Alright. Stunned her? Yep, she's stunned. And then... So they're doing healing and what have you. Can't make the distance from there, so... Alrighty, and then... So 1, 2, and 3. Alrighty, so... Alright. So maybe she can get to... Alright,
I can take care of the one on the very far end.
Alright,
You have Karlach take care of that one over there.
Yep. Alright, hopefully... Yep. Cool. She's in range. That's 1. That's 2. Alright, so she's stunned. Alright, now Halcyon and you and the Memphis and what have you can now deal with all the different pearl spores.
I'll have Halcyon head over to this one and deal with that.
So, the craziest thing I've seen is where first will an artist particular kink or gender and get mad when that artist starts doing other genders and everything. I'm not even talking bad subs like draw for. Yeah, some people just don't know how to chill. There's a mixture of things that go off in the furry community and such have you, and I feel like because of its very online presence, it's the same issue that toxic gaming or toxic gamers have as well, which is just anytime you hear them, it's just always in this, you know, it's always
one
just
down.
A negative problem. Did you just use a fireball?
You, I'd call.
Figured better to deal with it quickly than deal with it slowly.
Fair enough, seas. So the only 2 left are then this one and... Oop. Hey, nice. So that's got 19 health.
I'll have the other one fly over and help deal with it too.
Alright, alright. Hopefully it'll get it down here. Yeah. Do you want to have...
Woodward.
Probably keep him on the ground, so like go for either this one or ready to hit...
That's what I'm doing.
Because I can try and do another stun on her when it gets to it. Alright, here we go. Oh.
Shit, they healed quickly.
They do. Very quickly. Alright, you weren't wrong with your technique.
Never a dull moment.
Alright, there we go. She's stunned again.
Try me.
Darn. Alright. I am just gonna drink that, just so then that way I'm not dying or anything like that. She's stunned. Alright. Now let's see how we go with these pearl spores.
Hmm.
What did you just...
I'd put Moonlight Beam on, but I thought that would help, but apparently not.
Immune to psychic and poison. Doesn't look like they have any vulnerabilities. And I think
So the radiant might still do damage, but
momentum moonbeam. Here we go. Cooldown damages any creature that enters the beam or starts its turn into light. You can use it as an action. Would those be a... I don't know if those would be a creature, to be real with you.
Doesn't hurt to try it.
Alright. Yeah, so your Woodwoad should be able to hopefully get the last of that thing dead. That one is going to be the middle one. So... And let's see if your Woodwoad can...
Ah, damn it, it's not going to reach it.
It's not going to reach that one. Let's see. Darn. Well, the good news is Zantiethel is still...
Ah, doesn't do damage.
Oh, they heal for 100 points of damage. Jesus. Alright, hang on. Let me see if I can't jump her. Just gonna...
Does Karlak have any specific ammo type that she can utilize?
Give me a second. Let me see if she's got... No, she's got nothing to do. Oh, wait. Branding Smite. That should hopefully do more damage than normal. There we go.
Nicely done.
Survival is all that matters.
Alright. Stunning strike again. There we go. She's stunned. Alright. And I can't... And there we go. More burn... And they get a burning aspect. Do you think she's gonna be annoyed by the number of times we stunned her? She's almost at half health. She's almost at half health with all this, just me stunning her each and every time.
Probably best to transform Halcyon into a bear, seeing as I get 3 attacks with him.
Nice. Yep.
Hang on, it's taking a second to roll the dice.
9. Nice. Oh, it's gone now.
Fungi are worth 1,000 of you, you peasant.
Peasants. Alrighty, so now it's just...
Alright, now,
it's just this one up here. So the mud fence can...
I'd rather not take the chance of them missing.
Fair enough.
No! Not my mushroom!
Doesn't look like there's any more, which means we can now start just wailing on Antiethel.
Don't wail too hard. Remember, we gotta make sure that she survives to take that potion.
Alrighty then, so go to passives and turn on non-lethal if you can.
Yep.
Actually,
I think that'll turn on automatically when you turn it on.
Yeah, I just can't turn it on right now. It won't, yeah, it won't let me.
Yeah, it won't let me either from the Woodwoad.
Alrighty then. So Woodwoad does their thing. Oh, shame. Alrighty, passives, melee, and then...
Yep, it's already put it on, so it's on for all of us.
Nice. There we go.
Time to push my luck again.
And then...
We just need to force Aniethel into a stalemate. She'll most likely try to save herself if possible.
Alright, so she's got 17 health. And I can do 10 points of damage. Actually, I'm just gonna use Topple. Alright. I have the potion, so do we all want to, like, skip a turn or see what happens?
Yeah.
Or she's just gonna do... Oh no, she doesn't have any legendary actions or anything crazy like that. Alrighty.
Alright.
So, swap
Another
over
fight.
to-
How you doing, Onyx?
Alright, speak to animal, items... Can't use that right now.
Knock her on her ass, maybe.
I'm gonna do one more attack. It's non-lethal, so...
Yeah.
I'm gonna quick save here, just in case.
I think you throw it at her.
Throw. It's...
I don't see it, though. You've got a lot of shit there.
Nauseous.
What did you...
Oh, that did it.
Stay down, Vanra!
Can't believe it took me having... I thought I could just select it.
Nicely done, Shinball.
No!
Thank you, Shin. I did not see that until now, actually.
No, I didn't think about throwing it at her.
Yeah.
You cost me afresh, young hag! I'm going to paint the wall with your guts, you little shit stain!
Now we can kill her. You knocked her out.
Yeah, I know. Tarnished Charm. Make it easier for the wearer to survive death throws, great axes, and potions. You know you have to, like, turn off the passive, right?
That's what I did. You know what? Fuck it. Thank you.
You're safe now. The hag can't hurt you anymore.
Ring of Feywild Spark. While your sorcerer's tides of chaos. Future the active. Okay, so you gotta have a specific.
It says sorcery. I'm handing it to you.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Don't waste a step.
Goodbye, Auntie Ethel, you biatch.
Absolutely despicable.
Oh, there's a chest over there.
In a gnarly cauldron.
No thanks.
Is there an easier way out, or are we just gonna have to go back the way we came?
I think back the way we came.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Unless, hang on a second. Don't tell me.
That might be worth a look.
Hey! Ooh, fire wine. Hang on a second. Pick up. Send to camp. Send to camp. Send to camp. Send to camp.
Ow! Carrie, why you throw things at me?
Because it's funny.
Hang on. Open crafting menu. Why am I opening the crafting menu?
I don't know. That wasn't my
What am I crafting, Kiryu?
You know, it would be really funny if I just handed you a barrel.
Hagsbane is in grenades.
Ah.
Oh, it is too.
Wasn't for me. Alrighty. So. Alright, so we now gotta go visit Laura and Vara.
It's a sad day in the Maid. A sad and bloody day. Captain Grizzly's dead. And my only comfort is you off their killer. A God's damned hag of all.
Yeah. Sucks. Truly sucks.
Enjoy the Blushing Mermaid.
Alright, now we gotta find the mother and talk to her.
Yeah, just north of Old Garlow's place. And then we'll be able, so she's just across.
What were you thinking?
She should be over here.
Yeah, just there.
Why am I
You know
getting...
the captain won't wait for you, right?
Oh, there we
I
go.
swear. I don't see a single Baldurian here.
Dun, dun, dun. Cash guards.
It's not that. It's that no politician.
Can you just move, please, stupid character?
How about we bake something? You love baking. Remember?
Open to interpretation.
Do you appreciate breaks?
You're only a year older than me.
Alright, so... Laura's home. Here we are.
Property of Laura Burgors. Due to family circumstances, we are not accepting visitors at this time.
So there's Laura.
Found her. She's upstairs.
Yeah. That's right next to her. There she is.
You brought her back. You brought back my sweet, sweet girl.
Yep. The hag was my problem to deal with.
It was everything. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, because the only reason that hag went for that girl is because of...
From the pirate life I left behind.
We got rid of her previous one.
Thank you for being braver than half this city put together.
Nice!
Alright, I'll go talk to the other lot.
Duelist's prerogative.
Promise.
Main hand only. While your offhand is empty, you score a
That's
critical hit while rolling a 19. Moreover, you gain an additional reaction per turn. On a hit with a melee weapon, use a reaction to deal additional necrotic damage equal to your proficiency bonus. Interesting.
It's a shame you don't have with martial weapons, but you can maybe give it to Astarion.
No, Astarion's a dual wielder, remember?
Hungry, sweet girl.
Yeah, in main hand, if they said.
So long as there isn't anything in the offhand.
Oh.
So, hang on, let me go back to the thingamadiggy. Ding, sort by type. Here it is. It says main hand only while your while your offhand is empty.
Okay, never mind
Duelist
that.
shit. Does she look... No,
She's dead, isn't she? Ethel is dead.
How does she know?
Yes!
Oh, good for her.
Fuck you, Ethel, you miserable old bat! Fuck you for telling me I'd be an awful mom. That I was nothing but a pregnant half-wit. Oh, and the girl? You saved her too, right?
Yes. She's traumatized, but alive.
Thank the gods. You hear that, Connor? Ethel is dead. Oh, you didn't change back. You're still a zombie.
Because
I thought with
he was
Ethel
dead
gone.
before Ethel did the thing.
Never mind. I'll find another way to turn you back. Somehow.
Sadly, I can speak in code chat because my account isn't verified. Faster ways of verification, I would highly advise setting up two-factor authentication on your account. That way...
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Shebo. Just at the moment, the fact that I got bot spammed not too recently, I am taking heavy precautions.
He's never going to be human again. You have to let him go. Guidance, that nonsense. do they give us the high ones for the low difficulties?
I don't know.
I know. Damn it. I know. Connor. I love you. I've loved you since we were kids. And you picked me bluebells and asked me to the summer fair.
I don't know if you need to verify it.
But
Definitely worth
gone.
Googling that. Like, how is an account
And
quote-unquote verified?
Thing.
I think a verifying email or mobile number. That's how I've got mine done.
It's gonna be like one or two. It's either one or the two or both.
Not everyone can be saved. I learned that lesson from Ethel. I just needed you to remind me. Here. Thank you for killing Ethel. But I'd like you to go now.
Your
I'll be
mobile number
fine.
was apparently used by
I know I'm
someone
stronger
else.
than
That
this.
is not good.
I just need some time.
Probably worth checking in on that. A
Hey,
face
poof.
semblance. You have advantage on wisdom, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws.
Cledge can't believe you killed thee.
That is honestly
Auntie
really
Ethel.
good.
You're amazing.
Because that's basically like 3 skill checks that are all like charisma as well. Like that's a fucking steal.
Like that's a lot of the stuff that I utilize as a sorcerer.
I'm gonna be real. I kind of also want to use the Amulet of the Dead kind of thing. What do you have on your neck?
Mine is the cantrips one though. They deal more damage, so.
Do you want to have like the advantage on all the different saving? Because I think it's a saving throw, like when you have to do saving throws. So it's often if you're in dialogue and you have to do something with someone, or
No, you take it if you'd like it.
yes, please. I would like to see what it's like when I go into
Should
conversations.
you ever have a need of a cleric of Helm, I shall be there. You have my word.
Nice allies.
Yeah, we might want to. If you're not if you're ready to call it soon, let me know.
Let's see. Find the Diabolist. Do you mind if we go to the Diabolist? They're just north of the lower city central wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the only
free Orpheus.
Yeah, because the only other missions are. Let's see. Going into a magic shop. Do we want to go into the magic shop instead?
Oh yeah, we got to take Gale with us for that one.
Oh, okay. Do you want to? All right, so.
I'll go get Gay.
Okay, you go get Gay.
I'll go get Gay. I'll have Halson stay here.
Clank. Roll.
Oakfather preserve you.
No. If you just go
Wherever
to
you
Gale,
need me.
then you can just say, "Oh, we're gonna push out Gale." Like.
Uh-oh, something's going wrong. I can't do anything. No, it won't let me push anything.
Press 2. Like the number 2.
That's what I'm doing. It won't let me do anything.
What about mouse over? What happens if you alt tab and then alt tab again?
Still nothing. Hang on, I'll have the main menu again. Stupid fucking thing.
Alright.
Loves to do this to me, doesn't it?
Do we want to take that as a cue of like maybe we will like call it a night here, since there's been these like small problems?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll head back to camp and save it here. We don't need to go for a long rest or anything like that, do we? Cookie for Shibore. Here's your cookie. Code, you there?
Yeah. Sorry. I had work just send me a message. They were doing some shuffling around of the roster, so now I don't have Wednesday work night shift. Oh, thank Christ for that.
Okay, that's good. You still...
That means on Wednesday we can do some streaming!
Woo! Hump day!
Yeah, because I ended up picking up a Sunday and Tuesday shift instead. Yeah, but we'll call it there, so maybe give it a save and call it there, I think.
Yeah, I just gave it a save just then. So yeah. Look how much bigger I am! I'm almost I'm almost outside the confines of my room.
He's enormous, he is. An enormous.
Enormous. I am. Let's see. How big am I? 3.4 meters. Okay, so I'm only a little bit taller. I'm not that much taller. So yeah.
Only a wee bit taller.
Only a wee bit taller. But yeah, that was a little more Baldur's Gate. I like where we're going. I like that we got a little bit of a conclusion with Auntie Ethel and...
Which is great, and we managed to find the pieces of the corpse that we needed.
Yeah.
I think actually we got a fair few subquests done, which was actually really good.
I feel like we got like a good number of them done, and what's more is it's now at a point where it's like, I feel like the magic shop is like the last one of like the side questy nonsense, because after that point, we now have to decide on whether we go to the House of Hope, Balls, like the cultist ball area, or we go to, we go and deal with, Gortash and his, like, you know...
Yeah, I reckon the one thing we should do is go and deal with Gale's subquest.
So...
Because I feel like that might help us in the long run when it comes to some of the main subquest.
Yeah, I agree. I think going through the subquest with our characters, so that's Gale... do you think Cazador would be a good subquest to go through before we deal with any of the other peeps, or?
Might not be a bad idea.
Because as far as I know, like, it is just that. It's like, you know, helping Astarion out and shit, so it's not gonna, it's not like we're gonna bump into Orin the Red and get a Netherstone or some shit. So yeah. Alrighty then. We gotta have a look at who we're gonna go and raid.
Oh, well, I'm actually going to continue on for a little bit too, and
oh yeah, because you're gonna do some Dragon's Dogma character creator stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have a look at the character creator, and might even do a little bit of something else. I'm thinking maybe a little bit of Monster Hunter for a bit.
Okay,
or even possibly something a little bit more. What is it? I'm thinking of Karma, like maybe doing some Cult of the Lamb. We might spin a wheel for that and see which one we get.
All right. Okay then. Well, I'm gonna raid into your side then. So then that way all my viewers over here or the like close to it. Ooh, a dozen viewers. Are gonna come over to your side. And we're gonna raid in. I absolutely love the Starship Troopers, Freckles. You and I, we need to play Helldivers 2 at some point or something.
Actually, I've been playing a little bit of Helldivers 2 with Dazzy the other week.
Nice. I think I just need to put another day of Helldivers on stream for next week. But yeah, let me go and raid into you. We won't do a raid message because I was like, you know, I'm gonna click this thing and then it's gonna like do the little loading thing, and then I'm gonna end up over in your stream and I'm just gonna
confetti.